By the way, are you coming to LairCon 2022? I'll be there, and so will several of my DM Lair team members. This year, LairCon takes place in Pensacola, Florida on October 7th, 8th, and 9th. We'll have D&D games, other RPG and tabletop games, workshops, and panels. And every game master who runs at least one RPG game at the con gets an exclusive LairCon 2022 GM t-shirt. So please come hang out with me and my crew, and maybe even play in a game of D&D with us. You can learn more and purchase passes at the link below.
Uh-oh. There we go.
Whee! All right, rock and roll. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Wonderful Tuesday. It's a wonderful evening. Hello. What's up, Penguin? TXC Boy 36. What's up, man? You could give me an easier name to say. I'm just say. Shy Spencer, hello. What's up? Goliath Cleric, dude, what's up, man? I hope you're feeling better, buddy. I saw that stuff. You don't have to say anything in public, obviously. Sorry, probably shouldn't have said anything. But I hope you're feeling better, dude. How many people are coming to LairCon? I don't know. The sales are all starting to pick up right now as far as the tickets go. So probably, I'm guessing a lot of people wait to the last minute. I don't know. We'll see. Hey again. Mr. Gigsby, hello. Draco Worm, what up? Fernando, hello. It's raining in Scotland. Isn't it usually raining in Scotland and England and stuff? Like, I feel like that's a thing, right? It's like, it rains like 75% of the time or something. Isn't that how it works over there? Coin Slot, hello. What's up? Ginger Ninja, what's up? Is that because you have red hair or something? Isn't that what gingers are? They have red hair or something like that? Light skin or something? Is that what that is? Isn't that the proper term? I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm crazy. Oh, you're taking off, Goliath? All right, man. Feel better, dude. Whoa, yeah. Where are the bookcases? I just had a meltdown. It's raining in Florida. Well, it rains every day in Florida. I lived in Florida over a couple summers, and it's like a Florida thing. Every single evening, almost every evening, I was in the Orlando area. Almost every evening it would rain. Storm clouds would come in. It would usually be like some like serious like rain too. A lot of times thunder and lightning and crap too. But it was like a thing, like almost every single day in Florida, rain. Like it was a beautiful day out. It was a wonderful day. But then right around 4, 5, 6 o'clock, it's like, here comes the rain. And I worked as a roofer at the time. And so it was like, it was awesome when it started, when the rain was coming, because you got to go home. Did you get so mad at Wizards of the Coast that you burned all their books you owned? Oh, the bookcases? Oh, I'm done with that stuff. Yeah, we're done. Yep, we just threw them all out. We sent them to Goodwill. It's all over, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I was trying to, you guys keep bringing this stuff up. I was gonna like make a big announcement, in my video tomorrow, but now we got to talk about the live stream. Like, what the heck, you guys? You keep asking all these very personal questions and stuff. Just because I moved the bookcases, you got to interrogate me. It's so not cool. Please keep it PG. What happened? You've encouraged me to stick to my guns as a DM and keep the game challenging. I have 2 years of DM experience, and a lot of my early days I spent watching your videos. Thank you. You are very welcome, King Snack. I'm happy to help. By the way, DungeonCraft is also a very good YouTuber who has that same sort of message about keeping the game challenging and stuff. He did a video a couple days ago about responding to like the Critical Role thing where 2 of the characters died, and people on Twitter and social media were like, they had a meltdown. They were like, the agency and safety. They had a meltdown because a couple characters died. Imagine that in a game where you are fighting monsters that want to eat your face off. A couple characters die. Holy crap. Wow. You know what? If you can't handle that, D&D is maybe not the game for you. I don't know. Anyway, I could really go off hard on that, but I should be good. I should behave myself. Anyway, dungeoncraft's he's a good dude. I like his stuff. He has some like rules, like optional rules and stuff that you can implement to make death more meaningful or something like that. I forget exactly what they are. I didn't download them. He has links and stuff to him. I didn't actually look at them. I just heard him talk about it and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I mean, yeah, I think that it probably did surprise people that characters died in Critical Role, because you know what, we should just talk about that when we actually start the stream. I think that's interesting. Dungeon Master Josh, what's up, dude? Welcome, dude. Dungeon Master Josh was in a game with me and some others 2 days ago, and he and one other survived. 3 of them died, and the only reason that Josh and the others survived is that they ran away. They left the 3 others behind to get eaten alive. Like, well, they were dead by the time they were getting eaten. Well, no, they were kind of getting eaten alive, but they died very quickly, I would say. Last night's Critical Role. Oh, did they have a thing last night? Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't. So is the thing? Are they only live on Twitch and then you have to wait a week to like see their video on YouTube or something? Is that how that works? How does that work? All right, let's start this bad boy. Let's get going, rocking and rolling. I do want to know about how does Critical. They release at YouTube on Mondays. Oh, okay, so they have it live on what, Thursday night, and then they release on Monday. Oh, okay, so a lot of people don't catch it live and they're waiting. Idea. I'd imagine that's the idea. What's up? What's up, Straight Dungeon? Out the. If I'm running 2 games at LairCon, do I get 2 shirts? No. You also, by the way, there was a sign up deadline, August 19th, I believe, to get the shirts too. I hope you didn't miss the fine print. It wasn't fine print. It was very clearly on the page, but anyway, because we had to order them and stuff, you know, so just, yeah. But yeah, you get 1 shirt if you hit the deadline. You did? Okay. Yeah. Then you'll have a shirt. You're good to go, dude. What whiskey am I drinking? This isn't whiskey. This is tea. This is green tea and peppermint tea. It's not whiskey. I don't think I've ever drank during a live stream. Not like alcohol. I don't think I've done that during a live stream. I had a beer once during a DnD game. Was it a DnD game? I think it was. I don't know. Yeah. I have to be like, you know, able to talk intelligently. Okay, quasi-intelligently during these live streams. All right, let's get this stuff going. We gotta kick this off. We gotta get some Q&A going. Where are the buttons? Where are the buttons? Where are the buttons? All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. How are you doing? Welcome to the live stream. It's Q&A. You drop your questions in the chat. We're gonna throw it in the spreadsheet. I'll answer a bunch of questions. My cats are swarming. We're gonna give them some treats tonight. It's gonna be wonderful. We're gonna give them catnip and they're gonna roll around. It's gonna be awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, cool. So what do I normally do? Sleazy plugs are the first thing we're supposed to do. LairCon is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. It's very soon. You should check it out. There should be links all over the place because the only thing I do is talk about that right now because I want you to come and hang out with us. I'm going to be there. My team, a lot of my teammates are going to be there. It's D&D, RPGs. There's going to be some Star Trek, I think, there. We'll have tons of tabletop games. I have a big pile of tabletop games over there that I'm going to bring. And mostly, I'm only playing in 1 game. The rest of the time, I'm just going to be there hanging out with people. Literally playing games with people. I have like tabletop games that I just want to play games. So please come hang out with me. Don't make me feel lonely. I went to a convention a couple weeks ago and I was bored. So I don't know. I don't like come play games. I don't want to be bored. Anyway, what's the next thing? Oh, I'm supposed to do some. Okay, so yes, we got to do this thing here. Where is my thing? All right, ladies and gentlemen, these names listed on stream here are my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. They help support the content that we create. You are watching a live stream now. You probably watch some of my videos. You may get the free resources that we publish on the dmlair.com. You might get some of our Kickstarters. You might get Lair magazine. You might get some of the awesome stuff that we publish out to our patrons on Patreon. All of that stuff and my teammates' paychecks, and some of my teammates get like just crazy DnD gifts as part of their arrangement too. Half of their miniatures are provided by our generous patrons and YouTube members. So very, very appreciative of all of you folks. Thank you so much. And these ones right here, they pay us extra money, so we read their names on stream. So let's do this. 5e Magic Shop, Alex, Alex B, Alexander H, Amanda W, Ambers, Andrew M, Andrew U, Andy S, Andy W, Angelique K, Anthony B, Antoine B, Arrow Otta, Rutha, Ashley, Baldwin, Bardabear, Ben B, Benjamin P, Berncastle, Brendan A, Carl C, Celestina C, Christopher G, Chris C, Christopher S, Clay W, Cody B, Contrary Gravy, Corey S, Daniel S, Derek E, Double D Dog, Dresna, Doody K, Dutch, Ed R, Edward L, M, Fabro, Eric B, Aaron T, Fabian H, Frost Brew, Gallus, Gene A, Goliath Claire, Gravy Chorn, Harlan S, Heather L, Iron Cascade, It's Bailbon, Izzy T, Jack F, Jackie Cheap Pizza, Jacob, Jake L, Jacob K, James L, Jan F, Jessica J, Jim P, J M, Joanne P, Joe D, Joe E, John A, John C, Jordan D, Joseph H, Josh R, Josh K, Kale S, KK, Keith L, Kevin F, Cuzzities, Kirby, Curry Claw, Kyle G, Kyle M, Labraworks, Lionheart, Lindsay W, Magnen, Marty M, Marwin R, Matthew B, Matthew J, Matthew L, Michael L, how about that? Michael Mirostall, Mitchell, Mr. Lincolnu, Mr. T, Nerd with Glasses. That whole line was messed up, by the way. Ol S, O&D, Penguin Butt, published author, Radiance Guardians, Ramus, Ramsey, Razlik, Race W, Renner C, Richard M, Ricky L, Robert C, Robert J, Ron R, Ronald Ryan, Ryan SD, Sounder, Sakura, Sam B, Scott V, Shadow 1317, Shane L, Sheila A, Snowy Tiggy, Son of a Sofa Man, Soul Naya, Stephen G, G, Stephen, I don't, it's a PH. What are you gonna do here? T, Stephen A, Silik R, Tactical Tokens, the 3/4 Hospital, the old DM, the Pickle, the new Bad Ombre, Thomas L, F, Thomas T, Thor the Explorer, Tiger 500, Tim Black, Timothy T, Tom C, Travel and Catch, Travels the Lost, Tyler R, Vladimir, I don't know, Val Gore, Vincent G, Vladimir S, Volhoff V, Will M, Will C W, William H, Worth Lot, XX Red Drum, Zachary J. Wow. I feel like that was harder than it usually is. I usually do better than that. I'm like off my game tonight. There's so many Thomases now. Yeah. I heard bacon. Was there bacon in that list? There might have been bacon in that list. Okay. So you guys are probably, some of you were freaking out about the bookcases. Okay, they're not there. Yes, they're not there. They're now over here on the other part of my room. Okay, they're like over here because I have like another, I don't know if I can show you the other part of my room. Is there a way to like angle a camera that way so that you can see the other part of my room? It's like upside down. Oh, wait, hold up. I'm working on it. I'm gonna try to get you a camera that points that way. All right, hold on. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. I gotta go to the right camera now. OBS changed on me and everything is different. Okay, can you see that fan? You see behind that fan? That's my bookcase now. It's all dark over there, so you can't see it too well. My bookcases are all over there now. They're on the other side of my basement, okay? And once I get this camera back where it's supposed to be, I'm gonna explain to you why. All right, let's get this guy. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, so basically, for the longest time, I have not had a dedicated like setup for filming. I would just, every time I would film videos, I would set everything up, film videos and take everything down and put it all away. I'm tired of doing that. I really just want to have a dedicated setup where I leave everything up and I just don't touch it. It just sits there ready for me to just turn everything on and film a video. And so now I have moved, I had a couch over there where the bookcases are now that I had over there for the longest time. That couch is now directly behind me over here by that table. It's kind of dark, but you can kind of see it. So the couch is now there. I freed up all of that space over there, which really just had the couch. It was a big empty space. And took the bookcases, which are gone now, except for the poster is still there. And now the bookcases are over there. So now I'm going to be able to have a permanent like recording setup over there, basically, where I don't have to take anything down. It just kind of sits there the whole time. And then I can just turn stuff on. So that's the idea. That's the plan. So that's why the bookcases aren't there. What I'm going to do here, now what I'm planning on doing here, what I've wanted for the longest time is, so all of my miniatures, I love painting miniatures and I have tons of miniatures. My miniatures are all like stored away in little like tackle box type things, storage containers. And it's hard to like pick out the minis I want before games because I got to like go through everything and I got to haul them all over here to my table, and it's a big pain in the butt. So what I wanted for the longest time are cabinets that I can put miniatures in with glass fronts that close so I can like see the miniatures and then pick out the ones I want. But the glass closes so that the cats can't get at them. And also it protects them from dust because miniatures, when they get dust on them, it's a big mess. So that's the idea. So what I'm thinking of doing is I gotta find them, but some sort of like glass cabinets here that I can start putting my miniatures in. That's the plan. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know how long that's gonna take because I gotta find time to go look for this furniture, and then I have to like, well, I mean, buying it and getting people to install it's probably not that hard, but I have to go find it, and I don't know where to find it. So anyway. Have I ever DM'd in Spanish? I did. When I was living down in Central America, I ran a couple games in Spanish. And I was going to a church down there, and then they heard that it was Dungeons and Dragons. They're like, oh my gosh, that game is evil. You can't play that anymore. And I was like, you guys are idiots. And so I stopped playing it with the people that I was playing it with, and I went and played it online instead. It was like a play-by-post thing. So yeah, the satanic panic was still there. Like it was in the US during like the 80s, I think, mostly. But during when was I down there? I was down there in 2000. It was like early 2000s. Yeah, it was like 2003. So in 2003, when I was trying to play it down there, apparently the satanic panic was still alive and well down there because they were like, oh, that's a bad game. You can't play that game. I'm like, oh my gosh. If I had never told them that it was called Dungeons and Dragons, they would have had no problem. It would have been like, oh, this is cool. But then they're like, they knew what the name was, and they're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway, I ran a couple games in Spanish. All right, let's go to the question sheet here. Michael says, hey Luke, have you ever run ship-to-ship battles on sea? Do you have a preferred set of rules to use? So so my team and I are literally working on that rule set right now because it's going to be coming in December for patrons in Lair magazine. But we're going to have a rule set for ship battle by sea, basically naval warfare. It's going to be a lightweight rule set. It's like probably going to be 10 pages or under. It's not going to be a huge big thing. It's going to be something simple, lightweight that you can easily learn and then easily teach to your players, because your players aren't going to read it. You're going to have to teach them at the game table. We know how this works. So it's going to be a lightweight rule set that you can use for naval combat. We got it coming out in December in Lair magazine for our patrons. Because yeah, there isn't really, to my knowledge, a satisfactory rule set that I'm aware of. There probably are some, and I would wager a guess. Everybody, when they do rule sets, they go crazy. People go nuts. They want to publish entire books about a rule set for this, that, or the other. And it's like, dude, that's not, I don't know. Maybe other dungeon masters have different needs than I have, but like when I want a homebrew for a little tiny facet of the game, I want that homebrew rule set to also be tiny, correspondingly sized to that tiny ass facet of the game, so that I don't have to have an entire big fat 300-page book about naval combat. It's like, dude, we're not going to do naval combat with that much, and no, my players will never read this. So anyway, That's the idea. The idea is that it's something that you could easy for you to use at the table, teach your players and stuff like that, which is what we do for most of our products. We try to make them as easy to use as possible. Because you know, some of us got tons of time to prep games. Other people don't have a whole lot of time, and we're just, you know, we just need something to, because we don't want to run a sucky game, and yet we can't spend a ton of time prepping. So that's what our products try to do. So anyway, have I ever used them? I know that there are some in Ghosts of Salt Marsh. I don't know how good they are. It's been a long time since I looked at those, and I don't even know if I read them through thoroughly. I don't know that we've done ship-to-ship combat before in one of my games. Yeah, I don't think it's really come up. We don't tend to be on the sea a whole lot, in all honesty. We tend to spend more time in dungeons. I answered that question. I got that question. Any tips for describing my bad guys? Yes, use words. Use descriptive words. Generic question, generic answer. What do they look like? There you go. What is their bearing, their demeanor? What is their attitude? How do they speak? If you can act these out, preferred over just describing it. Those are things, their speech. How do they talk? Do they talk in a special way? You know, do they have like some sort of weird way of talking? You know, I mean, these are all different things. I mean, just think about a person. Think about a person and how you would describe a person. I don't, you know, so yeah. I don't think I have any real big, huge, massive brain busters for that. I have some super chats. I should probably take a look at these super chats. I'm sorry. Jason, thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I appreciate that. Happy Friday, sir. Nice work by the team and you on the cleric material. Plan on using in my Curse of Strahd campaign. Here is a little something for the kiddies and your wife. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Are you referring to the clerics that came out in Lair magazine? Is that the one you're talking about? I think you probably are. I think that just came out in the most recent issue of Lair magazine. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Ed on our team. I believe Ed, if I'm not mistaken, Ed, did you wrote all of those, right? I think that was you. Because sometimes Ed works with another team member on some of the creatures and stuff. But I think he's the one that did those bad boys, the clerics and stuff. So he can confirm or deny. But anyway, thank you, Ed. See, people love your crap. Yeah, he's like, yes, those were mine. There you go. Ed does a lot of the creatures and monsters that we publish, a lot of them. He's just over there churning out new creatures and monsters, and he's like, Luke, I have some giants. Luke, I'm making some giants. Okay, all right, let's figure out what we're gonna do with these giants. That was his message yesterday, the day before, and I was like, yep, okay, let's figure out where we're gonna put these giants. He's always got some more creatures and stuff, which is great because that's one of the things Dungeon Masters like, is new monsters and new creatures. So it's perfect. Yes, monsters are hard to get right, for sure. Is it advisable to TP into a boss room Rolo? No, don't do it Rolo. That would be a bad idea. Candy's not going to save you. How do you draw the line between a player that simply asks the rules to be correctly applied and the dreaded rules lawyer? Asking for the rules to be correctly applied is simple. It's just that's what you're doing, right? You just want the rules to be applied correctly. It's like, no, dim light grants disadvantage on perception checks that rely upon sight, but I'm trying to smell, therefore it shouldn't grant disadvantage. I mean, that's just applying the rule correctly, right? The rules lawyer is a little different. The rules lawyer is seeking advantages. They're seeking to, this is the way I differentiate it in my brain. And people might have variations of this. With the rules lawyer is taking it a step further. They want to get an advantage. They want to get some special thing. They want to get some extra bit of power, something. They want something, and a rules lawyer will argue the rules and find rules that try to reinforce their position. But it's not just that. It goes a little bit, it's more nefarious than that. They will twist and warp the intended meaning of words. They will read things in a different way. They will take a standard English language and they will interpret it in a way that no sane person would interpret that sentence. And yet the rules lawyer will argue that it should be interpreted this way because that and the other and the other. And so they try to, the rules lawyer tries to take the rules and tries to make the rules do something for them in the game that the rules were probably never intended to do by the spirit of the rules and perhaps even by the letter of the rules. So the rules lawyer is trying to do something different and special. They're seeking advantage and they're twisting and warping and they're relying on different interpretations and stuff, and that sort of thing. So that's what a rules lawyer does. But just asking for the rules to be applied like they should be applied, that's a different thing entirely than rules lawyering. All of that said, we know that it's the dungeon master's prerogative to not apply the rules even as written if they don't want to. But I will say that it is, in my opinion, preferable to simply follow the rules unless you have a pre-established house rule that has been explained to your players and hopefully received buy-in from your players as well. Generally speaking, things work better when you just follow the rules as opposed to having a big, huge book of homebrew rules. Yeah. All right, I saw more. Oh, I missed it. There's another super chat I missed, I think. Where was the other one? Oh my gosh, I'm missing them all. Oh, here we go. Kirby, thank you for the $50 tip. I appreciate that, dude. Kirby just got us to our goal too. We are raising money for the Capital Area Humane Society, and Kirby just got us the rest of the way there. There's a green bar here. We were like almost there, and he just got us the rest of the way there. So we have now raised $500 for the Capital Area Humane Society. They help out cats and dogs and do lots of cool stuff for our animals. So I'll be making a donation to them for $500. Thank you, Kirby, for getting us over that mine goal thing. Yeah, beautiful. All right. I see Odin's super chat here, but I don't know where it is. There it is. I found it. Okay, cool. Thank you, Odin, for your super chat, dude. I appreciate that, buddy. Had my first D&D session, 8 players, 1 DM. Fun chaos. Holy crap, dude. Yeah, 8 players, buddy. Story was set up into a rat folk dungeon. Met dude helping him get his royal armor. Slayed tons of rat folk, got armor, and he was Rat King in disguise. Cool. I don't know who the Rat King in disguise was, but I'm glad to hear your game went well, dude. You all had fun. Congratulations on running a game for 8 players. I wouldn't want to do that. Spencer, thank you for the $25 super chat, dude. I appreciate that. Shy Horizon here. YouTube's removed my old account. Hi, great work as always. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, 6 is brutal. Yeah, Goliath, how many are you doing for our game? The game that I'm in with you. Don't we have 6 players? Usually? But one of them sometimes doesn't show up, right? Okay, so it is 6. Yeah, I don't like 6. 5 is my limit. What do I do when my players don't care that much of the story, but only want to level up and get magic items? I mean, that is one of the main things that many players care about. Leveling up their characters and getting magic items. And the story and all that kind of stuff, the plot that's going on, maybe they don't care about it, you know? So, like, what do you do? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna change their motivations, more than likely. So you're not gonna like grab them by their collars and shake some sense into them. That's not gonna happen. If you want them to care about the story and what's going on, all that stuff behind it, like the only thing you can really do is make it more interesting and make it something that's going to grab their attention, something they might care about. That's the only thing you can really do if you want to try to get them to care about it. There's a part of me though that is almost like, you know, if they just want to level up and get magic items and stuff, like if I'm okay with playing that game, then is that really that big of a deal? You know, if that's the game they want to play and I'm okay with playing that game, then maybe I don't worry about it. Maybe we just play, I'll make my stuff and make the adventures and they go on them and you know, and we all have fun. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that approach either. I mean, the answer might be do nothing if you're okay with that. Now, of course, if you're not okay with that and it perturbs you to no end that your players don't care about the story and stuff, I think first good step is to make sure that the story, the plot, the situations you're setting up, all that stuff is good and interesting too. Because, you know, sometimes we watch movies that we don't care about, and sometimes we read books that we don't care about because they suck and they're not interesting. They're not worth caring about. So make sure that whatever your story is, we're calling it story, but we really shouldn't be telling a story. And I've talked about that before, so I'm not going to go into it now. But make sure that what you're setting up is worth caring about. Because if it's not worth caring about, your players might not care about it, and you can't blame them. So the first thing is make sure that what you're doing is worth caring about, because it's not always the player's fault, right? Dungeon masters carry a lot of the responsibility of making this stuff worth caring about and interesting enough to hold our players' attention. So that's your first step. Make sure it's worth caring about and try to make it really cool, right? And see if that influences them at all. And if it doesn't and you're doing your best and they just kind of don't care, you know, then you really just got to ask yourself, I mean, what are you going to do? You going to keep beating your head against the wall? Or are you just going to be okay with the fact that all they want to do is level up and get magic items? And I mean, if you're not okay with it and you're like, no, this must change, they must care about the story, then I mean, I don't know what else you could do but get new players. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you've already tried to make it interesting, something worth caring about, and they just don't care and stuff, you know? I mean, it's like, you know, I don't think it's worth trying to like influence a person's personal like likes and dislikes and trying to change like what they enjoy as a person. Some people are going to enjoy different things, you know? So I don't know where to go from there. You know, it might just be a case of, you know, you and the players aren't good fits because you have something that you really care about the game that they don't care about, you know? But you know, for me personally, I've had some players that don't care about the story and the plot that's going on and stuff like that. And it's never really bothered me because I'm not doing those things for them. Like the all that intricate stuff that's going on, like in a large way, I'm creating that stuff for me. That's kind of for me. And it is for them, and I want them to care in a way, and you know, it should be something worth caring about, but in a large part, it's to satisfy my desire to create something, to make something cool. And so as long as I'm enjoying it and liking it, that is at least satisfactory to me. Now, if some of my players care about it, great. If others are just not interested in it, that isn't necessarily a comment on my ability to create something cool. It could just be because their interests are different than mine, and what appeals to them as a player in the game is different than what appeals to me and what appeals to other players. They might just not care about. They might just want to get powerful and level up and have cool things they can do in spells. I mean, that might be all they care about, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know? So I think that the solution might just be to do nothing and not worry about it. If you're having fun and they're having fun, this is, in my opinion, a non-issue, and you should just keep running the game and carry on and don't worry about it. Like, it's, you know, you should always try to make sure what you're creating is worth caring about, of course, you know, but it might be a non-issue. It might be. What do you think of the new starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle? I have no idea. I don't even own it. Sorry. I don't buy most of the stuff that comes out anymore. I just don't. Half of the stuff they create doesn't appeal to me, you guys. It doesn't appeal to me, so I don't buy it. I don't buy products that I don't think I'm gonna use, except for alt covers. I am a sucker for alt covers. Okay, I'm a sucker for alt covers. If they finally get back to making alt covers that actually look good, I will buy the alt covers. I will every time. But I swear to you, I crap you not, the last 2, I think, alt covers I've gotten were garbage. And now instead of just blindly buying the alt covers, which I used to do, I go and see what they look like first. And then if I don't like them, I don't buy them. So I have no idea. about the starter sets. I don't own any of the starter sets. I don't own them. I don't even own them. I don't just buy stuff to buy stuff to put it on my shelves. It's like I buy stuff that appeals to me that I think I might use or that sounds interesting. And even then, like many of the books on my shelf for D&D, I've never read. Like how much hit point does a wooden wall have? It's in the Dungeon Master Guide. Toward the back or somewhere in there, there are literally rules in Dungeon Master Guide about objects, small objects, large objects, and then like different stuff in there. It'll tell you how many hit points it should have per like 5x5 section and stuff like that. It's in the book. It's in the rules. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna look it up right now, but trust me, it's there. When making your own game for D&D, do you have to write everything, or is there a trick to make it way easier for a DM? Yeah, you definitely don't have to write everything. You definitely don't have to write everything. So, I mean, I can tell you what I do to make it easy when I'm designing a game. I wonder if I can just show you an example. Let me go. I probably can show you an example of something I did, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you a map of it. I can probably show you some notes that I made. Let me see. I mean, I gotta look around on my computer to see if I have what I have here. Give me a hot second. This probably will work. Yeah, I think this would work here. Okay, yeah, this will work. I can show you this. Stand by. I don't think I have the map for that though. Do I? Oh, I do have the maps. Let's put this over here too. Well, I might not need to show you the maps though. Okay, so you don't have to create everything. You don't have to write everything, but you do need to prepare enough for you to be able to run the game. And that means different things for different people. So like what I have to do to run a game is not what somebody else has to do to run a game. And I may prepare more or less than other people. So you don't have to write you don't have to literally write out a module. Like you don't have to write all of that out. There is a lot of stuff that is in modules that you really don't have to prepare for your own game. Like read aloud text. I almost never make read aloud text when I'm preparing for a game. I don't need to do that. It's something that comes naturally to me anyway. It's not worth my time and effort. I can just figure that out. So I don't do that. The difficulty class of certain things, I never have to figure that out. Like, you know, I'll just make that up on the fly as we go. You know, I don't have to know what the difficulty class is to break down a door or break through walls and stuff. Like, if it comes up, I'll figure it out. I'm not going to worry about it. If there's a ravine, you know, or there's a wall that needs to be climbed, like what's the difficulty class to climb the wall? These are all things I just make up on the fly. And some of these things might be things that they put in modules, but modules, like, they try to cover their bases and give dungeon masters more information than you probably need as a general rule. The ones at least you get from wizards tend to have a lot of the stuff spelled out that you probably could just kind of ad-lib, maybe. I don't know. It depends on your comfort level, but some dungeon masters need that guideline and others don't. But when I'm creating an adventure, and I'm talking about adventure creation, specifically just creating an adventure, I need to have a map. I need to know, like, I need to have my encounters figured out. I need to know what the monsters are and what the encounters are going to be, because those are things that are, they're very important. A good map can make the game and much more exciting and fun than a crappy map. Their crappy maps suck, and I don't want to make up a map on the fly because it might just be crappy. I need some time to actually think about it when I'm not under pressure. Encounters and the monsters and stuff, you don't want to make that stuff up on the fly. Are you kidding me? Just pulling stuff out of your butt and throwing it down, or using Kobold Fight Club or whatever it is to just randomly. No, dude, that's not gonna work. You know, we want to think about these things. We want to set these things up, you know. So those are definite requirements. And then a basic description of some of the rooms, I feel like, helps me out a lot. and to plan some elements out. So I'm gonna show you something that I made that maybe will help demonstrate this a tiny bit. So this is an adventure I made that I ran for patrons. So one of the things I do is I run one-shot D&D games for my patrons every month. And this is a game that I ran for them a few months ago or something. And I picked out the creatures I wanted. I have maps for it as well. And I wrote up the storyline. I want to know what the plot is, what the background is, what the situation is. So I wrote this up. And then I have some basic information about who the people are, the NPCs, the Darakul, the Kingdom of the Radiant Banana, the Unworded, and the Crone. Just some basic information I wrote up about the NPCs so that I knew who they were and what was going on. And then I had different like places on the maps, and I just have some bullet points about them. You know, I have some information about who's in the area, and there wasn't even that whole much information here. Like, look at this. I don't have anything. It's just, this is the people that are present. This is their ruler, and they have this object, and there's an acid pit, and then there's treasure. That's all I even wrote. That's all I wrote. The Kingdom of the Radiant Banana, similar deal. Similar deal. I have the bare minimums here. Enough information for me to run this scene. That's it. There was like nothing in here. And then this one right here, the Unverse of the Unworded, almost no, it's just very, very basic. The encounter, who they are, they have the Radiant Banana, and then some treasure. Because I don't want to make up the treasure on the fly. That's another thing that I like to prepare in advance. And then if you look at the maps I had, like this is one of the maps. We didn't use this entire map. We only used this bottom portion of the map. But this corresponded to, that map right there corresponded to the domain of a Darakul. And these are all the maps I had to use on this map right there. And then the next one, this one was the Kingdom of the Radiant Banana. I used this map. And then this was the boss fight with the Crone. I didn't show you that, but I had some information about the Crone as well right here. And so this was all the information I had for this. And then this right here was what was this one? The Unverse of the Unworded. And that was the information I had for that map right there. And I think that was all my maps. So I had was that 5 maps? I think that was 5 maps. 4 maps. It was 4 maps. It was 4 maps. And I just had, these are my basic notes. This is all I had. Now, there was a whole lot more that happened in that adventure because I was making stuff up as we went. I was just creating stuff as I went along because I'm comfortable doing that to a certain extent. But these are the basic stuff that I needed to run the adventure. And it's only 4 pages. It came out to be 4 pages in my Word document. So it wasn't a whole lot. And this was a one shot. They ran this in one game session. Now it did take I think it took most of the groups about 6 hours to get through this. Now, part of that is because this was a level 16 adventure, and level 16 combats take a long time. But this is just my example, right, of what I need to prepare in advance to run an adventure. Now, sometimes I prepare more than this, you know? Sometimes if this were for like a normal campaign of mine, I might prepare more than this. I have prepared a whole bunch more. Sometimes, and yeah, so anyway, but I don't know how helpful that is to answer your question. So you seem more like a reactive DM versus proactive. I'm very proactive, I feel like. This is a one-shot game though. And in a one-shot game, I am much more comfortable just kind of rolling with it and making stuff up as we go. I can give you an example of another adventure I prepared that is probably way more detailed because I fleshed it out a whole lot more. I think I have one from my Curse of Strahd game that I can show you. Where is this bad boy? Do I have Curse of Strahd game campaign? There we go, Curse of Strahd. I had Homebrew Adventures. Tower of the Mad Mage. Let me show you this Tower of the Mad Mage one. I think I detailed this one out a whole lot more. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay, so for this one, I had each of these areas was really detailed out. Like I can show you these maps. Hold on a second. Let me close these. So I had maps that I was using for these, and so these were maps that I was using for this adventure. Okay. And each of the little areas, each of the little rooms, I detailed out information, shelving, bundles, something that's in the trunk, something that's in the cabinet, the alchemy lab, you know, I had like encounter notes for some of these things. I had, you know, the library. We had a puzzle right here. No, this was a trap. This was a trap. I took this trap out of Lair magazine. So this is one of the things I do when I'm creating homebrew adventures, even for my own games. Sometimes I don't want or I don't have time to make a whole trap or to make a puzzle. I literally take stuff from Lair magazine and just drag and drop it into my homebrew games, and I have a ready to go trap, I have a ready to go puzzle. So I did that in this adventure. But yeah, so this document is 7 pages long. And this is the puzzle I stole from Lair magazine, Dwarf King's Folly. Ed wrote this puzzle. And so there's a whole lot more. Like this is really this is compared to the last one I just showed you. This is really fleshed out, way more. But it's still, you know, super sparse compared to a published module. Like the adventures that we publish in Lair magazine, or the adventures you're going to see in Wizards stuff, is way more fleshed out, way more. But this is just some basic notes, you know, that you need. So the original question the person was asking was, you know, how much do they have to flesh it out, and how much do they have to create, you know, writing everything. And so I think that the trick to making it easier for a dungeon master is really to figure out what you need. What are the things that you don't want to improvise on the fly? And what are the things you feel comfortable improvising? And then prepare in advance the things you don't want to improvise. And the things that you feel comfortable improvising, don't prepare them. Then you can spend your game preparation time focusing on the things that you most need to prepare, and you don't worry about all the other things because you know you can figure it out on the fly and you're not worried about it. And I think that's the real golden rule, and that's the trick for making prep time easier for dungeon masters, in my opinion. It's Nectic. Hello. It's Nectic called us all nerds. Hello. You're right. We are nerds. We're here on a Friday night talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Like, if that doesn't define nerddom, I don't know what does. Squeaky's biting me. All right, I think I had some. Did I have any more super chats I missed? I think I did. Here we go. Dr. Nova, thank you for the $5 super chat. What was a 5 something super chat? I don't think it was dollars, but it was something. Thank you. Are alignments meaningless now? Pretty much. How would you actually run chaotic neutral? Players just pick it to not think about alignments. Yeah, they do. Yeah. I am waiting. I have been waiting for years for Wizards of the Coast to just get rid of alignments. I'm just waiting. Like, you know, when are they going to get rid of alignments? Almost very few people use them in a meaningful way. Some of the rules reference them. You know, the Book of Exalted Deeds, I think, is only usable by good. I think there are some weapons, maybe like the Holy Avenger. You have to be lawful good or something, or maybe good to use it. And then there's like the Talisman of Ultimate Evil or something. I don't know. There are some things there are some mechanics in the game that specify alignments, but for the most part, it's not a game mechanic anymore. And I feel like I know that there are definitely lots of players who think of their alignment and play their alignment. However, I feel like they're probably a minority, a very small minority. I mean, I can tell you that in a game that I was recently in, I was a monk, and I guess I was lawful good. I followed Bahamut, and which is the god of the good dragons. And I don't think I role played my character lawful good or neutral good. I wasn't good. I was a pretty bad monk. I was a bad boy. And I was rejected by Bahamut. I literally died, and in the afterlife I was rejected. And my dungeon master was like, yeah, you didn't follow his precepts at all. You were not a good person. He rejects you. And I was like, oh crap. And then there was another person that I basically started worshiping or following a bad person, a bad guy. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I can even say that I pick alignments and then I just don't even think about them. You know, it's just like, oh, it's part of the game. You pick an alignment and then you just kind of do whatever, you know. Penguin says, no, Luke, you weren't. You were not goodly aligned. So yeah, I mean, it really comes, and what Ed is saying is true too. It really just comes down to the dungeon masters and the players' tastes and what you guys care about and whether you want to make it a thing or not. But I'm just waiting for Wizards to get rid of it, you know, out of the game entirely. So like in the playtest that recently came out, there was no mention of alignment, except that there were mentions of alignment in so much as it was talking about some of the tieflings and what was it? There's a new race or something that comes from like a union between angels basically and stuff. So it was kind of mentioned, but it was almost in a passing way, like, you know. So I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for them to release a version of DnD that doesn't have alignment and then just get rid of it, because it seems to be less and less a thing every edition we get. So when 5.5 comes out in 2 years, you know, I don't know, we'll see what happens. What are people's opinions on dropping dragons on players? I don't know what people's opinions are. I can tell you that if it works, I mean, if it's something you're planning and your players are of appropriate level and you drop a dragon on them and stuff, I mean, it's part of the game, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. I've been in games where the dungeon master rolled a 100 on a random encounter table, and we were level 4 or so, and we were confronted by at least an adult dragon, if not an ancient dragon, and we crapped our pants. I think we managed to make a deal and barely survive by talking to the dragon, but we were terrified, and this dungeon master would have had no qualms with killing us, I assure you. So I don't know. How do people feel about Dragonlance? I don't know how people feel. I don't know how other people feel about Dragonlance. I don't know how other people feel. I can tell you what I feel, but that's it. But I don't know how other people feel. Hi, I'm a newer DM. I was wondering how you plan combats for an imbalanced party. I have 3 PCs, 2 spellcasters, and a barbarian. It's hard making it both fair yet difficult for everyone. That's their problem. I'm sorry, that's not your problem. Not your problem. Not your problem. I ran a one-shot 2 days ago, and they had a fighter, a crossbow fighter, a wizard, a sorcerer, a rogue who can fight in melee but was better at crossbows, and what else did they have? They had some other type of it wasn't a frontliner. I don't think they had any frontline characters. They had no one that was intended to go into the front line. And the very first combat, and that's not my problem. That's literally not my problem. Not my responsibility. You decided to create your party. That's your decision. My game world is not changing because you made certain decisions. Most things are unaffected by your decisions to how you're going to make your party. the game world is what the game world is. And there are going to be lots of melee people, and there are going to be archers, and there are going to be wizards and stuff, and that's just the way the game world is. So in this example, in this one shot, the first encounter they did really well at because they managed to keep their distance, and they did very well, took almost no damage. The second encounter is when all crap hit the fan, and one of them died within, I think on the first round he was done, and it didn't take but maybe another 2 rounds before another one went down. It was just like boom, boom, boom. They all just started dropping because the monsters were all very much melee monsters, and they were right in their faces, and their armor class wasn't there, their hit points weren't there. They didn't have a real good way to deal with creatures that were fighting that way, because their party composition just couldn't handle monsters right in your face. And so 3 of them bit the dust and 2 of them ran away. And we still had lots of fun. I think it was lots of fun. But they failed. So I have always usually taken the standpoint that it is not the dungeon master's responsibility to balance things around players' choices. And if players choose to build certain parties, then they need to figure out how that's going to work. That is their responsibility. That's their responsibility, not mine. Now I'm going to balance my encounters according to your level and stuff. But just because you have like 1 barbarian and 2 wizards doesn't mean I'm gonna all of a sudden like, be like, well, I can only have 1 melee guy, and then there might only ever be like 2 combatants in a fight. That's a possibility, or maybe 3, maybe 4. But I'm gonna be careful there because I know that action economy starts to swing things. So I'm still gonna balance things according to how many characters they have. But if they all decide to be wizards, they better figure that out. They need to figure that crap out. Like, that's their decision, and that's not my problem to solve. So I think that's the player's problem to solve. You don't have to hold their hand through that. Let them know, hey guys, you're gonna have to figure this out. This is gonna be rough if there are like 3 wizards. So have a plan. Oh, I'm a blade singer. Oh, okay, well that's gonna help. Okay, cool. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stand on that. That's not a dungeon master problem. That's a player challenge, and a challenge for them to overcome based on a decision they made. But I would make that clear to them too. Explain that to them. Make sure they know that they're responsible for figuring out how to make that work. What do I do if my players want to kill everything? I don't know what that means. Like, they want to go into every town and just start killing all of the people in the town? If they go into dungeons with monsters and they just want to kill all the monsters, like, fair. That's the game they want to play. They just want to go in and kill a bunch of monsters and have fun and just kill crap and take their stuff. Like, fair. Like, that's the way people played the game for a long time. Now, that's one thing. If we're talking about they go into a town and they just want to kill all of the townspeople, and they're killing the merchant and they're killing the blacksmith and stuff like that, and they're just going on a killing spree in town, and they're just like, woo! Well, then at that point, like, you as a dungeon master need to ask yourself, is this the game I want to run? And if the answer is no, then you stop right away and you tell your players, guys, this isn't working for me. This is not the game I want to run. If you guys are just going, now we could talk all day about having there be consequences and having there be, we can talk about that. We can talk about verisimilitude and making it feel like a real world, because if an adventuring group went and did that in the real world, there'd be consequences. We can talk about that all day long. But the root cause is probably where we want to start. Because if you have players who just want to walk into a town and start killing everybody and taking their things, like, shopkeepers and blacksmiths and everything, like, that just needs to stop. There needs to be an out of character conversation. Guys, if the dungeon master doesn't want to play that game, guys, that's not the game I want to play. This is not what I signed up for. I don't want to run a game where you guys are just going into every town and killing everybody. I don't want to do that. That's not fun for me. That's not enjoyable for me. And ideally you're going to be able to have a conversation with your players and figure that out and come to an agreement about like, okay, cool. We're going to take this a little bit more seriously and actually role play, because that's just insane. Like, it's not realistic. Even bad guys wouldn't do that, because bad guys would be dead very quickly if they just started doing that, you know? And hopefully you can come to an agreement and figure out a way. But, you know, if it doesn't work, and if their attitude is such a way and they're just like, well, screw it, dude, we just want to go ahead and kill everything. Then at that point, if it were me and my players were just like, could not be reasoned with, and all they wanted to do was just kill every single thing in the world, including innocent shop people, I would just be like, okay guys, then I can't dungeon master this game for you. So I think we're done. Best of luck to you. I hope you find a dungeon master that wants to run that game for you. I'm gonna go find different players who are more interested in the type of game that I want to run, because this is just a mismatch of desires. Like, you want to play a game that is not the game that I want to play. So this isn't necessarily a negative comment on them, but it definitely is a mismatch of desires of what each person wants out of the game. And so I think if you can't be reconciled, parting of ways is appropriate. They can find a dungeon master who will run the game for them that way. Best of luck to them. They're probably not gonna find one, because, you know, there's like 50 players to every one dungeon master, whereas you as a dungeon master are gonna have a pretty easy time probably finding players to fill your game up, players who want to play the game that you want to play, you know, that you want to run as a dungeon master. So it's not like we have to kowtow and cater to every player need. You know, if our players all just want to murder everything, you don't have to put up with that. You don't have to do that, dude. You're the dungeon master. If that's not the game you want to run, then don't run that game. You can find different players. As heartless as that may seem, like, look, who says the dungeon master has to sit there and suffer and not have fun so that their players can have fun and do that? That's ridiculous. You have just as much a right to enjoy that game as your players do. I would argue that you have more of a right than less. You have way more of a right, perhaps, to enjoy that game, because you are putting in way more work and time to prepare that game in advance to run it for your players. Being a dungeon master is difficult, and it takes more time than being a player. This is one of the reasons that few people want to be dungeon masters compared to how many want to be players. So you 100% have a right to enjoy running the game that you're in. And if that's not the case and you're not enjoying it, then it's time to figure out how to fix that. And it might be a case of just needing a different group of players that are more interested in the type of game you want to run. Or it might just be one player who just is a problem and needs to be gotten out of there so that the rest of the game can get better for everybody. All right, we are going to give my cats some treats. Oh, I forgot. We're doing a giveaway tonight. I forgot to talk about the giveaway. Please, if you want to get in on the giveaway, there should be a link in the chat to the giveaway. One of the moderators can drop one too. I'm giving away Into the Fae. I have a copy of Into the Fae. I'm going to be giving it away. It's a physical copy of the book, so you will get a physical copy. Yeah, if you're not in the US, then I can't ship it to you. I'm sorry, it's crazy. I can give you digital stuff though. So anyway, you can join the giveaway right there. Click the linky. It's free. It's free. We'll draw the winner at the end of the live stream too. Okay, cool. We're going to give my cats cool stuff. All right. Oh baby. Oh baby, they're starting to swarm. I have to fill their tub up with the replacements. I have to make sure that I put it in this screw lid, because they will literally break into this. They will get this lid off and break into this if I don't put it into that one that has a lid that screws on. They break into the snacks and then half of them are gone the next morning. So I got this big, huge one. But anyway, they're going to get some fresh ones today. All right. Uh-oh. Little guy, calm down. Please. Acting like you're going to die. You're not starving. You are not starving. Actually, little guy is pretty scrawny, but he has so much food. He just doesn't. I don't know why he doesn't eat more. He's a little scrawny one. All right, you guys. Y'all need to calm down. Jeez. Yeah. There we go. I'm gonna give him some of the chocolate too. I have chocolate for them. I think it's chocolate. Liver flavor, beef fat, preserved and mixed pterophopods, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, brewer's yeast, natural salmon flavor. Well, I don't know. It doesn't say chocolate. It looks like chocolate, but apparently it's not chocolate. But they love this crap. They try to get into this container all the time. So we're gonna throw them some chocolate. Here you go. Chocolate. It's the liver. They like the liver. All right, I'm gonna get some more tea and stuff. I'll be back momentarily. Ooh, that smells good. Apple cinnamon. Ooh. All right, let's see. I think I saw a super chat. Jordan G, thank you for the $5 tip, dude. I appreciate that. Says, love your content, dude. Give my best to the kitties and puppies. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Why is that turning off? Oh, no. Okay. My coffee maker is beeping at me. Yes. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. You also got your name up here, over here. Yeah. You sniped Kirby. Kirby had his name up here from his tip. He tipped $50 tonight and he slivered the boss right up here. And then Jordan sniped him and got his name up there. Well done. Well done. Sorry, Kirby. Sorry, Kirby. Oh, that's very nice. Dakota Strout, thank you for subscribing, dude. Why is that not filtering? That should be filtering some stuff. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, cool. There we go. Beautiful. My filter reset itself. Ooh. I have players interested in becoming dungeon masters. They ask questions about how I run the game, but I am afraid of pulling back the curtain for their playing experience. Yeah. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough one. Right, because if you explain some of that stuff, it could kind of ruin their game experience. But if you don't say anything, right, then you're like, you know, you're hoarding the secrets of dungeon mastering, and you're not helping to pass the torch on to other people that could, you know, help, you know, spread the hobby, which is not good either. You know, the interesting thing is I had a player once who, it was the first time he'd ever played DnD, and he started playing with me, and he played with me and my group for at least 1 year, if not more. And then he decided to do a short little campaign, several adventures, and he did just fine. He did a great job. I never revealed anything behind the screen at all. I never told him anything, and he did just fine. He figured it out. So I don't know that revealing behind the screen is necessary to begin with for someone to be a dungeon master and figure things out. I think there certainly are things that would be useful though. So maybe not necessary, but certainly useful. So I guess what I'm mulling over in my head is if I had a player who were interested in being a dungeon master, I would be more likely to explain things to them apart from the rest of the group as opposed to in front of everybody. Like, chances are that not all 5 of your players want to be dungeon masters. Maybe there's just a couple of them. Maybe you just take them aside and you explain some things to them, and you explain some of the things that you're doing and why you're doing it, you know, and let them ask you questions, and then you just give them honest answers. Like, I feel like if I had a player who wanted to be a dungeon master and they wanted to pepper me with questions, I feel like I would just tell them. I don't think I would say, look, you know, you want to be a dungeon master, that's awesome. I would love to share this stuff with you. I want you to know that it could impact your game experience in my game, you know, but I'm willing to tell you as long as you're aware that it might degrade your game experience because you're going to know some of the things behind the screen. And as long as they're cool with that, then I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to like conceal stuff from them. I'm going to give them their warning, you know, that, hey, could impact your game experience, but I'm just going to tell them. I'm going to tell them the information and stuff because it's with the intent of helping them be better dungeon masters and learn how to do it. And I'm not going to say no to somebody trying to help them to be a dungeon master. I'm just not going to do it, you know? Because here's the thing, like, it might take away a little bit from their experience as a player, but overall, they're going to be learning things and stuff that's probably going to be exciting to them because if they want to be a dungeon master, and so you're going to be adding to their excitement too. You're going to be adding some really cool elements. So you might lose a little bit on the player experience, but I feel like you're going to gain some stuff in other aspects as well. And so I think you're probably going to have an overall win. And obviously you're helping to get somebody else into dungeon mastering, which I think is a very good thing to be doing. So I think that's probably would be my approach. And I think overall, I probably wouldn't worry about it a whole lot. If I had time, probably take the people aside that are actually interested in it, as opposed to explaining it to everybody, maybe would be my suggestion. But those are my thoughts on that. What is your opinion on 1 DnD so far? Okay, well, I had a video that came out a couple weeks ago that talked about it a little bit, and then I have a video coming out tomorrow that's going to talk about it some more. The too long didn't read is as a player, it sounds really cool. As a dungeon master, it doesn't excite me because I feel like it's going to make most of the modules that we currently have outdated and unusable, because the customizability that you're going to be getting with 1D&D is going to make it so that characters are going to be way more powerful than they are currently. And when you have more powerful characters, it's just basic power creep. But when you have more powerful characters, what you're going to find is that your modules, all these modules you've bought, don't really work that well anymore. So you can't use them without significant rework, like significant rework. You're going to find too, probably, that a lot of the monsters that we have now maybe don't hold up either because they're too weak. So we're going to need new challenge rating rules. We're going to need new rules for adventuring day. We're going to need new rules for like setting up encounters and stuff to help things keep pace with that power creep. But it's for sure going to make a lot of our modules to where you have to do extensive rework to bring them up. I mean, you already have to do it. Like if you take some of the earlier modules and compare them with like the power creep that's already in the game, you can't just run those modules as is. Like I was running Curse of Strahd for my players, and I had to tweak the crap out of Curse of Strahd to make it at all challenging for them. And they're good players, they're experienced players. Did they have super OP characters? No, not all of them. One of them did a lot of damage, but it wasn't, he was just a barbarian with like two-handed weapon mastery thing, so he could do like his power attacks or whatever. You know, that's like out of the core rule books. He wasn't even using something crazy overpowered from like Tasha's or something. So they didn't even have anything crazy going on, but I still, Curse of Strahd was still needed to get tweaked to make it anywhere near challenging for them. Can you imagine when 1D&D, let's just call it 5.5, comes out, like with the customizability, your ability to min-max things and customize and stuff, it's gonna make things more powerful. And so it's going to invalidate a content that we have. You know, some of these books that we have just aren't gonna work as well, you know, and so that doesn't sit well with me, you know. So that's my primary concern, I suppose, as far as like 1D&D goes. Like it's how its effect is gonna be on dungeon masters, because I feel like players are probably gonna like it. So we've only seen one playtest drop thus far. My feeling is that players are gonna like it because it gives you customizability, which is great. It allows you, I mean, it caters to the players who just want to play what they want to play because they want to role play it. Great. The players who want to do min-maxing because power is important to them, great. They can do it even better now. And I'm not commenting on one way being better than the other or one way being bad. It's just simply, that's just the way people play. So players, I think, from what I see so far, are probably going to like it, at least what we've seen so far. Dungeon masters, though, I don't know. Taking away critical hits, does not excite me. Like you're taking away my critical hits as a dungeon master? Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'll just throw that rule out right away. We just forget about that. So those are some of my impressions, but we don't know anything. We know very little. I mean, the only thing we really know is that Wizards lied to us when they said it's going to be backwards compatible. I don't believe that that's actually the case. And I don't like that. I think that's disingenuous and sleazy to just lie to us because you don't want your sales to tank prior to releasing 1D&D. So I don't think that's very cool. I can understand why the company has to do that, but not cool to lie to us. You know, the interesting thing, moderators are having fun right now. I can see somebody is about ready to get permanently muted or something. Towing the line. Jesse says we can speak with our dollars, spend it on stuff like the DM layer, etc. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, you can. Huh? Speak with your dollars. I mean, I'm literally right now I'm moving to Pathfinder 2nd edition for my Curse of Strahd group. We're gonna start using Pathfinder, and I'm loving it so far. We haven't played yet. I'm still reading the rule books, but so far I really like it. That's not a decision really influenced by 1D&D because I made that decision before we even talked about 1D&D. But I'll tell you what, it makes me feel even better about that decision now. Oh, Penguin Butt is sharpening the guillotine. Danny is cracking her knuckles. How to run a group of players that is about 6 or 7 a week, and the players' personalities can vary from kill all to a person that always plays good characters and freak out if death is possible. I feel like if I were doing that, then I would probably have to talk to those people, like probably individually, and I would say they need to temper their expectations and widen the horizons of what they feel should be or is possible or something. The person who wants to kill everything, dude, you need to chill out. You're not the only one at the game table, and by only wanting to kill everything, that comes across, you are impeding other people's ability to enjoy this game. You need to chill out. You need to let them play the game too. And there's more details there, but I'm not going to go too in depth into that. The other person that freaks out if death is possible, hello. Like, hello. This is Dungeons and Dragons. You are a fighter or a monk or a cleric or a wizard. Like, you're carrying around weapons, you have spells that do damage, you're fighting goblins and orcs and dragons and beholders and monsters and things that want to kill you. Death is a very real possibility. Your character might die. That is something that will probably happen at some point. You can bet your dollar on it. So there's two things here. Either you get comfortable with that idea to a certain extent and recognize that it will happen eventually, but when it does, it's not the end of the world because you're going to be able to make a new character. That's how the game works. But if that's something that you just don't feel safe and comfortable with, your character dying, then maybe my game isn't for you. Maybe the way I run D&D isn't for you. Like, I know that there are other groups that run D&D somehow where you never die. I would suggest finding one of those groups, because if the possibility of death freaks you out, your character dying freaks you out, then this is probably not going to be a good fit for you, because it's not like, I don't want to, if it affects you somehow and triggers you, or affects you psychologically or something, you just can't handle it, respect, but this is not the right fit for you. There's a different game out there that is going to be a better fit for you. So because you're not going to change the whole game for one person, right? Like, that's not the way group games work. The guy who wants to kill everything, you're not going to change the whole game to fit his playing style. And the person who doesn't want death to be a possibility, you're not going to change the way you run your game to fit their style either. Like, that's not the way group games work. Like, people have a variety of interests, as you're saying in your question. And so the game needs to be designed and ran in a way that fits everybody's needs in so much as it can, so that everybody gets a little bit of the thing that they like and that they enjoy, but everybody can collectively enjoy the game together. But you can't just run a game where you're like, well, this person just, doesn't want the game to be challenging, so we're going to run like a watered down, easy game where nobody dies. Well, guess what? A lot of the players think that's going to be boring as crap, and they're going to walk. I would walk in a heartbeat if I were in a game where I knew that I could never die, that we all had plot armor, and the dungeon master was protecting us. That game has no interest to me whatsoever. Like, the very best games that I walk into are the games where, like, my characters die sometimes. Like, those are the games I want to play in. And so you have to run a game that appeals to as many people as possible. You can't just, it's impossible to cater to everybody's very specific needs and still run a game that everybody likes. If you try to please everyone, guess what happens? You please no one. That's the way it works. So it is definitely within the realm of possibility that there are going to be players that your game is not a good game for them. It's not a good fit. Like the way you run the game might not work for them for various reasons. And that's okay. It's not a comment against you as a dungeon master nor them as a player. It's just not a good fit. Not everybody is suited to get married and hang out. Not everybody is going to be friends with everybody. Like we are different personalities and different tastes. We are individuals, right? And so it's unreasonable to expect that random players will always find your game, the game that will fit them best. Some players just might not be good fits. They should leave. They should find other games that are better designed for them. And this is perfectly fine and acceptable. This is the way it works. Now, some people may not like that. You might be offended and be like, well, the dungeon master should make sure that any player whatsoever that shows up is going to feel perfectly welcome and comfortable in their game. I disagree with that. Like, you cannot make your game so that everybody will find it enjoyable. You can't. It's not going to work. You will have a watered down game that probably pleases no one because you have compromised in every single possible thing and you've watered it down all that you can. And so you're trying to please everybody, you please no one. So it's not reasonable to expect that anybody who shows up at your game is going to enjoy your game. It's just not reasonable. People are different. It doesn't work that way. You can do the best you can. You can try to accommodate as much as you can. Like there are certain things that I don't allow in my games because I know that people won't like them. And I don't allow them, but there are certain things it's like, I'm not going to accommodate that, some things I'm just not going to accommodate because that's not the way I'm going to run my game. So this is not a good fit for you. So I'm sorry, but that's just life. A different game might work better for you. Any advice on DMing for strangers? When I run games for strangers, I run it the exact same way I run it for anybody else. I don't do anything differently, really, when I'm dungeon mastering for strangers. It might be a little bit more formal because I don't know them. Like I might interact with them in a different way, like a more formal way or something. But I don't really do anything different for strangers. Like I run the same game. Everything is the same, they have equal probability of failing as they do winning. Like I'm not doing anything special when I run games for strangers. I just don't. I just run DnD. I run games. And because look, if you're running group, let's pretend you meet some new people and you're going to run DnD for them, and they might end up being your standard DnD group that you meet with them every week or something and play. Like when you meet them the first time and you first start playing, you change how you run DnD because you want to, I don't know, impress them or whatever it is. You change the way you're running DnD. Well, at what point, as they become less strangers and more friends, do you say, okay, guys, I've been deceiving you the whole time. This isn't actually how I run DnD. Now I'm going to start running it differently because we're actually becoming friends and this is a standard group. Well, then they're going to be like, well, maybe we won't like it this way. Like we thought you ran it this way. It's like, I don't know. There's a point. There are certain things you're probably not going to do with strangers that you would do with people and friends and stuff, Like there's a certain degree of formality that we adopt when we interact with people that we don't know that well. That's just that, but that's just social mannerisms and social awareness, I suppose. But the actual way of running the game, I don't think differs. Oh, I was disconnected. I think I'm back now, though. There, it looks like I'm back now. Was I frozen for you guys for a while? I think I was. That was frozen? Okay, cool. I had this, my face was like this. Like I got done delivering my diatribe to you guys, and then I looked at my my screen monitor and I was frozen. Like that. And I was like, oh, something bad happened. Oh, man. Do you have any third-party source for new spells? Have you done any in Lair magazine? If so, what issue, if you can remember? Oh, gosh. I don't know of any third parties for spells, honestly. We did have one issue that had spells in it for Lair magazine. Zach, is he still here? Ed, do you know what issue it is? What was it in? I don't remember offhand what issue it was in. We only did it once. We did it one time. And essentially what we discovered is that most of our patrons are dungeon masters, and new spells aren't the thing that dungeon masters mostly look for. Dungeon masters find other things way more useful than spells, and so we stopped doing them. We do this thing where we like poll my patrons every so often to see which resources they're finding the most useful, which resources we should keep on doing or maybe do more of, and which ones they find less useful and maybe we should think of doing less frequently or stop doing. And spells were one of the things that were ranked way down at the bottom. And so we only did it once and we stopped. So July and we did it twice, really? Okay. So Ed says it was in July and November of 2021. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. So if you want those, you can get those back issues on the DM Lair store. There's probably the moderators can put a link in the chat, I think, for our storefront. But you can get both issue 11 and 7. Yeah, on the DM Lair store. What is the ideal level to give the party special mounts like hippogriffs, griffins, Pegasus, etc.? I was thinking 8 to 12. I mean, this is a very interesting question. There's part of me that's like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? Let me explain something to you. I had a game once where I gave the party griffins. The entire party had griffins. And I think they were level 7 or 8. I think they were probably 7 or 8. Maybe it was lower. I don't remember exactly. But they all had griffins. And this was a wonderful experience for me because I got to see what happens when everybody can fly and when they all have mounts. And there's a lot of things that happen when everybody in the party can fly. Well, first of all, 90% of the monsters that you might want to use as a dungeon master, you can no longer use them. You're done. You're done. You can't use half of the monsters. They're gone. Goodbye. I mean, yeah, sure. When they're in a dungeon and there's a ceiling, you can still use them. But if I want to have any encounters at all outside, they must be able to fly. Period. End of story. There are exceptions and there are different things you could do to get around that, but it's harder. It takes a lot more work. For the most part, you just kind of gave up all of your ground-based monsters because everything has to fly because the party can now fly. And so as a dungeon master, that really limited the tools that I had that I could use. When we were outside, there were no ceilings and, confining us. Now, when you're in your actual location-based adventure, when you're in a dungeon or a castle or wherever your adventure takes place, because most adventures should be indoors. There are lots of good reasons that adventures should take place inside, where there are walls and where there are ceilings. There's tons of reasons. There's a reason most of the modules you buy from Wizards have location-based adventures that are inside. There's a lot of game design reasons for this. Not gonna go into that now. But when you're outside and you're traveling around and doing stuff, it's cool to be able to have encounters as well. Well, you can't really do that if they can all fly. So that's the first thing you discover. The second thing, but then once I discovered that, there were even situations where on the adventures, the flying really helped a lot too. And The next thing that we discovered is that when the party is flying on griffins, I think I gave them griffins. I'm pretty sure it was griffins. When the party is flying on griffins, the monsters discover fairly quickly that I cannot hit the paladin in full plate armor and a shield, but I can hit the griffin they are flying on, because the griffin has like armor class 13 or something, and the griffin has like maybe 30 hit points or something. And so once the monsters figure out that I can't hit the characters because of their armor class, but the griffins are easy to hit because, you know, flying creatures, especially medium-sized flying creatures, if you put barding on them, like plate barding and stuff, that's going to make it really hard for them to fly. You have a flying creature that has to carry a character who has armor on and equipment. And if you also put armor on the flying creature, that dude's not flying. He's not flying at all. So the monsters figure out very quickly that yes, it's easy to hit the griffins. And so then you have griffins dying left and right. You know, and this is what happened in my game. When my monsters who were not stupid could not hit the characters who were flying above them, they started shooting at the griffins. And the griffins died very quickly. And it got to a point where there was only one griffin left. And it was Nigel's, was it Nigel? I think it was Nigel's griffin. It was Nigel's griffin, and he protected that thing with his life. He did not take it on adventures. It mostly stayed in Waterdeep. He had some special stables for it where it was taken care of. He cast the Awaken spell on it so that it could actually talk and stuff with him. But yeah, they had one griffin survived. So you ask, what question? What level should you give that to them? I mean, and my question is, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? Certainly the higher levels, if you're going to give it to them, give them at the higher levels, but then you have the problem of them dying very quickly. Like, you're playing level 12 game. A Pegasus, a Griffin, a Hippogriff, those things are going to die fast. All it takes is one combat encounter, and you have, you know, whatever it happens to be goes after the Griffin instead of the person on the back of it, and that thing's dead very fast. So you have another problem there, you know, and the players are going to be like, well, can we level them up? Can we level them up? Can we level them up? Well, maybe you could turn them into sidekicks. You know, your Hippogriff or your Griffin or your Pegasus, they could be sidekicks, and you could start giving them levels and giving them abilities. We published a sidekicks rule system specifically for animals called Tamed Companions, and that's available on the DLM Lair store if you care about it. But it helps you to level up your animals, you know, and it could be a mount of yours that you want to level up and have it along with you. It's a rule system for doing that. And at that point, great, that's wonderful, awesome. Now we have a way for the characters to have mounts that level up with them and don't die right away. That's excellent. Well, the next thing you have to consider is, okay, now I have to account for that mount's power in my encounters. I have to account for that. It has hit points, it does damage and stuff. It adds to the power level of the group. Great. So now I have 5 characters and 5 sidekicks because I'm leveling up the mounts. Wonderful. I now have to balance my encounters for 10 creatures? Like, you know, you see what I'm getting at is that it's just making things, it's a spiral of complexity where things get more and more complex. Now, you might say, well, but Luke, this is really cool. This is the game I want to run. Excellent. Then run it and do it. But don't go in blindly. Be aware of some of the problems that you could run into, that you will run into, and have an idea of what you're going to have to do to try to overcome those things. So if you want to do that, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be cognizant of where things might go and what you might have to do as a dungeon master, because you're giving them something that it's not just like a +1 sword. You're not just giving them +1 swords and wands of fireball. You're giving them something way more than that. So just be aware of what you're doing is all I'm saying before you do that, because once you give it to them, you know, then you have to deal with it as a dungeon master. I think it's much easier to give a ground-based mount barding armor than it is to give a flying creature barding. Because flying creatures, because they fly, they have to be able to displace their weight with their wings to be able to fly. And once you start weighing them down, that becomes increasingly more difficult. Like I said before, if somebody is mounted, if you have a character on their back, that's already weighing them down. You start adding armor onto them, that weighs them down even more. You see what I'm saying? And so it makes flying difficult if you got too much weight on you. Hi Luke, my characters are not taking my game seriously and instead are trolling in character during extremely serious game moments. How do I bring weight to the game without killing PCs? This is not a game issue. This is not a game issue. This is not an in-character issue. This is not an issue with you running your game. Like, your question is like, I'm giving you a different question. I'm replacing with a different thought. Like, this is an out of character issue. This is not something that you're going to solve in the game. You're not going to do something in the game to change this. This is an out of character issue that needs to be addressed very specifically with your players. Very specifically. You say, hey guys, this is what's happening. I'm trying to run this game and there needs to be there's a certain amount of seriousness at which, I'd like the game to be taken, and you guys aren't taking it seriously. I feel like you're not taking it seriously. This is what you're doing. And give them examples, give them very specific examples of them trolling you in the game. And say, this is some of the things that's going on, and this is how it's making me feel, and this is whatever. Express your feelings to them, whether it's upsetting you, whether it's making you not have fun, however that is. And then just say, listen guys, I don't want to run the game this way. I want there to be a little bit more level of seriousness to the game as opposed to what you all are doing. Is this something that we can do? Can you guys play this a little bit differently than you have been approaching it? It is an out of character question, an out of character thing to be addressed. Not in character, not in the game. This is 100% out of character to be talked with directly to your players in a very direct way, very directly. Okay, it's gonna feel like you're confronting them because you are. It might make you feel uncomfortable. It probably would. It probably make me feel uncomfortable. But it needs to be done. It's not something that you can address in the game. You can't just try to skirt around the bush, and it needs to be a direct conversation directly to them, addressing the problem and talking about it and trying to find a solution whereby they can still have fun, but you can also have fun too, and you're not feeling like, they're not taking the game seriously enough. It sounds like it's frustrating you and possibly making the game unenjoyable for you. If there is no solution to it, you have to ask yourself, is this a game breaker for me? Am I going to put up with this, or am I going to walk and find new players, which is always an option for you, if it's not working. So, but try to talk to them first. But this is like I said, you got to be direct about it. You got to call it right out and say what it is, as opposed to just trying to skirt around it and stuff. That is an odd question. One of my players wanted to play DnD in Minecraft. I know what Minecraft is. How would you put DnD into Minecraft? I wouldn't. Sorry. I have no idea. I wouldn't even attempt it. Honestly, I wouldn't even attempt it. I mean, I suppose you could try to create entire dungeons in Minecraft, but you can have multiplayers and stuff in Minecraft, but nah, dude, that's crazy. No, I don't know. Since the 6th player joined the party, every opponent gets slaughtered. I planned a very hard boss fight, but the CR is very high. How can I know if it's at least a little bit fair? Well, you don't. You listen. I get it. So you had 5 players and your game was fine, and the encounters were challenging enough, and then another player joined, and now everything's getting slaughtered, and so you're trying to raise the difficulty a little bit, and now you have a boss fight and you're not sure if it's fair or not. Well, and how is it balanced? Listen, you don't know. This is the single greatest thing that like Wizards has dropped the ball on: game balance. Like game design and balancing the game. It's like almost impossible. You can follow the encounter creation rules, you can follow the adventuring day mechanics, you can do all of these things. You can calculate things just where you think it's fine, and you don't know. You don't know if it's fair or unfair. I have thrown stuff at my players that was like 4 to 6 times over the deadly limit, and they've done just fine. Other times there's something that says easy and they almost die. You know, you just don't know. There are so many variables. There are variables, the characters they run. There are variables about the players themselves and the tactics and how good they are at combat. You know, there are the monsters, and there are just so many things going on. The bottom line is you can't tell. You don't know if it's balanced or not. All you can do is the best you can. So you do your boss fight and you'll see what happens. They might lose. It happens. It might be okay. It might be really hard. You just don't know. You honestly, you can use the game rules, the mechanics to try to gauge the challenge rating, but many times you're just guessing. You're just guessing. And sometimes something is going to come in way too hot and be way too challenging. That's life. It happens. But it isn't necessarily like, listen, I run one shots for my patrons, and I usually run the same one shot, usually about 3 times for 3 different groups. And then I get bored and I make a new one. So, I had one group run a one shot and they did just fine. They defeated the final fight, and they got the objective and they left. The second group was 2 nights ago and they did not do fine. They got their butts handed to them. 3 of them died and 2 ran away. Exact same fight, exact same level of characters, different players, different circumstances. The dice were different, you know, the dice were different on those nights and stuff. Decisions were different. So you just don't know. So you ask, well, was it a fair fight? Well, for the second group that lost and ran away, I would argue that it was fair because another group won. So if this group could win, then that group had the opportunity to win. You just don't know. Now I'm going to run it again, and who knows what's going to happen to that group. But the point is that you don't have the benefit really of running that boss fight for various groups to know if it's fair or not. You can't really play test it. You get one shot and they might lose or they might win. The game is like that. It's swingy. You just can't tell. And there's nothing I don't think there's anything I can really tell you besides what I already had. Yeah, let them learn that it's okay to run away sometimes. It is. Yeah. What do you think is more detrimental to a game player? What do you think is more detrimental to a game player-wise? Analysis paralysis or reckless abandon? One shot versus campaign. There's 2 questions there, Greg. I mean, hands down, analysis paralysis is painful. Like, I cannot stand analysis paralysis as a player or as a dungeon master. Like, make a decision, make up your mind. Let's play the game. Come on. It probably doesn't matter anyway. Whether you're going through the front door, you're going through the back door, or you're going through the sewer entrance. Like, whatever. Pick one. Pick one. Is one a better option than the other? Maybe, but you don't know. We could sit here for 20 minutes discussing what the best way to go into this compound is, and all 3 of those entrances probably are guarded in one way or another because a person with a brain, a dungeon master, designed it, and maybe one of them is less guarded, but we don't know which one it's going to be. Shoot, you think it's the sewer entrance, but I don't know. If I were guarding my compound, I would think that enemies would think that the secret sewer entrance is easier. Therefore, I would put more guards there. Whereas the front door, well, who comes in the front door? Everybody looks for another secret entrance, so the front door might have fewer guards. Like, you don't know. So when you sit there thinking about these things too long, there reaches a point where you're not playing the game, really. Yes, making decisions and stuff is part of the game, but there gets to be a point where it's like, guys, like do we really want to sit here for 2 hours deciding what to do? Or would we rather just go do anything at all, so that we can experience the game and play the game? And so I would much rather, if I had to choose between people who were reckless and people who could not make up their minds, I'll take the reckless people any day, every single day. Thank you. Give me the reckless people. Reckless people make the game interesting. They do. The guy who picks up that object that everybody knows is trapped and he sets the trap off, he just made the night interesting, right? The guy who opens up that door when everybody else is like, oh my gosh, what's back there? Okay, then monsters, and then you have a fight, and oh, it's exciting, and we played the game and stuff. You know, reckless people have their place, and it's a good place. I've been in parties, I've had groups before where most of the players were afraid to do anything, and then there's the one player who's like, I don't care, I'll open the door. And that's the player where you're just like, thank you, I appreciate you, thank you for being in this group. Because otherwise I'm sitting here with these 4 players who don't want to do anything because they're afraid, you know, and we're just sitting here not playing the game. But you opened the door and now we can actually play the game, thank you. So I'll take the reckless players. Now, there is a point where being reckless can affect the other people's game experience. So, you know, if it goes to an extreme, you might have a problem. Like, if you know that that's a fireball trap and the reckless person just grabs it anyway and then everybody gets burned, like, okay, maybe there's something going on there. Maybe they're intentionally screwing people over, their own party members, and that's going to hurt people. You know, that's going to make people feel a little bit not happy about that. And then you could get some tension out of character between the players. So there is a point where you have to say, okay, now maybe you're going too far. So there can be a downside to that, absolutely. But that's solvable, perhaps, you know. But the group where everybody just sits around and talks and makes a decision and they can't make a decision, that's not bearable. That's not a game. That's torture. That's that's like the first layer of the 9 hells. You don't want to be in that game. Like, that's a bad game to be in. So definitely. And then one shot versus campaign. I mean, I like campaigns. I like full campaigns. What monster have you used the most in one game? I don't know. Pick any monster. I'm running Curse of Strahd, and my players are about to get into a fight with the Night Hags. Should I warn them off of doing so, or should I let them do as they wish? What is the point of running a D&D game, especially one like Curse of Strahd, where it's kind of open world, depending upon the plot hooks that you give? But what is the point? What is the point of running that game if you don't let the players go do that thing? There's no point. Like, you introduced that plot hook at some point because they ended up at that location, and they thought about going and doing the thing. You introduced the plot hook. Otherwise they wouldn't be there. Otherwise they wouldn't know about the Night Hags. They wouldn't know about the windmill. They would know nothing about it. So why did you introduce a plot point if you did not want them to potentially go do that thing? So that is something that a dungeon master should always consider before they introduce a plot hook. Like, if you don't want them to go do the thing, don't tell them about the thing. It's a very, very basic consideration. And this is one of the mechanics by which you can actually run a quasi-open game world, but restrict the options so that you can prepare things and it's not crazy. So you only give them the plot hooks that you are prepared for, or that are within their capabilities, if that's the way you want to run the game. So you don't give them the plot hook for, if they're not ready for the Night Hags, then you don't give them that plot hook. If you know they're all gonna die because they're level 2 and it's just not gonna work, then don't give them that plot hook. But you could just give them that plot hook anyway, because hey, this is Curse of Strahd. And I don't care if they're level 2. They might decide to go to that Night Hag place, and it's way over their pay grade, and they all might die, or they might run away, or something. And that's a possibility. You might decide to give them the plot hook because you want it to be a possibility. But my point is this, like, it feels like to me that if you warn them off or tell them that they shouldn't go do that thing because they're not ready for it, like, what's the point of even running that game? Why was that plot hook given? You know? Because yeah, so I feel like you're like cutting the ground out underneath yourself if you give them a plot hook and then tell them don't go do that thing because you're not ready for it. You know? So I wouldn't do that. I would let them go do it and let happen what happens. And they might die. The Night Hags might just beat the living tar out of them and drop them in the swamp somewhere. The Night Hags might capture them and make dark deals with them. They might coerce them into doing certain things, in exchange for their lives. You know, who knows? They might take like pieces of their hair and fingernails and flesh and use their dark magic to, you know, put special things, curses upon them or something. I don't know. So there are other things that could happen in that scenario than just the Night Hags kill them, because, you know, those witches in Barovia, they have purposes and motivations and things they're up to, and it isn't just killing everybody that comes to them, you know. And so ultimately those witches want the bones of small children so they can make their meat pies, their dream pastries. And so what if they try to coerce the players into bringing them children or something, you know? So I don't know. There's lots of things you could do with that is the bottom line. Floppy Jello. Hello, Floppy Jello. And Zach is back. This is so good. If I warned one of my players about a bad choice they were about to make last session, it would have robbed the entire table of one of the best moments we have had. Oh my gosh. So let me tell you this story. This was amazing. This was an amazing game session. I'm in a game with Zach, Penguin Butt, Ed, Tashio, and a couple other players. And I'm in this game, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I get distracted. In this particular moment, what was I doing? I was working on something for DM Lair stuff. I don't know what it was. I was doing something though. They were all talking and doing some stuff and exploring, which, you know, and I was doing something else. So I was distracted. It's my fault. And then Zach was like, Luke, do you go through the portal? Or no, Luke, do you step on the symbols? And I had heard that these symbols were teleportation devices. And so when Zach said that, I looked from this monitor to my other monitor where the game was taking place, and I saw that I was all alone. The symbols were right there that would teleport me somewhere, and all of the other characters' tokens were gone. They weren't there anymore. So I assumed that they had stepped on the symbols and teleported to this place. And so I said, yes, I step on the symbols. And as soon as that happened, all the other players were like, and then I was like, what? What's going on? You all went through, right? And no, they hadn't gone through. They had all gone somewhere else in the area. They didn't go through the teleportation thing, but I stepped on it because I was distracted. I mean, I was playing a character who was also kind of crazy and distracted too. So it's, yeah, you could call it good role playing. But anyway, I ended up teleporting into a room full of monsters in all essence, and they attacked, and my character died, and the other characters came to try to save me because they noticed that, hey, what was my character? Quiglar or something? Whatever my character's name was. They were like, where is he? Where's the barbarian? Actually, I was playing a fighter. I think I was playing a fighter. Where's the fighter? We should go try to find him. And then they came back, went through the portal, and then tried to save me. I was already dead at that point. And somebody else died too. Penguin Butt. Yes, Penguin Butt's character died on the rescue attempt. And then the both of us died, and we had to make new characters. And it's all because I made a bad decision. And Zach did not warn me about that decision. And I'll tell you what, man. That was probably the best game session we've had yet. That was so much fun. Like, just the craziness of, oh my gosh, holy crap, I did this. I can't believe it. And now, oh man. So it was absolutely fun. I loved that game session. And then I have a new character now. I don't even know who my new character. Oh, I have a warlock. Yeah, I have a warlock. That warlock will probably die soon. I'm probably going to get bored of casting Eldritch Blast. and the warlock will die. I need to make a cleric, but I don't know exactly what cleric I want to make. You got what you deserved. Good example as why PC should pay attention. Yeah, I wasn't complaining. I brought that on myself. I was not gonna complain, and it was tons of fun too. Bye, Zach. Would you rather play D&D online or play D&D in real life, in person, every day? D&D online has no comparison to playing in person with there's no comparison, you guys. 0-0. I have done both. I have done both extensively. I played online for a year and a half exclusively, like a game every week at least, exclusively online, and it holds nothing to playing in person. The amount of fun you have playing in person is exponentially degrees of magnitude greater than playing online. There's no comparison. So I know that Wizards wants to have D&D Beyond, and they want to have their own virtual tabletop, and this is like that, and that's great. That's wonderful. All luck to them. But I'll tell you what, man, people who never play online, never play in person, they're missing out on a little something that they haven't experienced. Ooh. Have you tried using 3D virtual tabletops like Tailspire? No, I have not. I don't really have time to experiment on half of these things. I have one thing that works and I stick with it because that's what I do. I don't have time to goof around with that stuff. I don't. If I were to play around with some of that stuff, then Lair magazine wouldn't get done. My Kickstarters wouldn't get done. It would just be a big old crap show. I have to prioritize. Everything I do has to be prioritized, and I think, okay, what's the most important thing? Goofing around with VTTs that I've never used before is oof. I'm gonna sit here and watch Netflix and relax at the end of a long hard day before I start goofing around with the new VTTs. Oops, I didn't get that one. Not a question. Not a question. Have you thought about doing any other systems besides Pathfinder 2nd Edition? I was looking at some other systems. Yeah. I was looking at Rune. It's Rune something. I forget what it was. Rune something. I can't remember. And then I was looking at Dungeon World. I read Dungeon World book, and Dungeon World's not a playable game in my opinion. I don't know how people play that game. The rules are so ambiguous. I don't even know how you play Dungeon World. Dungeon World strikes me as a game that you could have two different groups using those same rules, and they're playing the game completely differently. They're just so ambiguous and difficult to understand how that game actually works. I just don't get it, Maybe it was made that way on purpose, but it's kind of crazy. And RuneQuest, thank you. Yeah, RuneQuest. So I was looking at RuneQuest a little bit. I almost ordered the books and started reading them. Some of the reviews kind of drove me away from that, which isn't usually the best reason not to buy something, but it did. And the reason I was looking into RuneQuest is that it is not a class-based system. It is a skill-based system, which I find very interesting. Which I kind of like the idea of skill-based systems more than class-based systems, which DnD is. So that's why that's the reason I was looking into RuneQuest. But anyway, ultimately, this guy is getting all of his stuff like totally deleted, like the whole stream. At which point does somebody throw a wrench at him? That's my question. Star Wars. I love Star Wars. That might be fun. Yeah, Savage Worlds. Jason, one of my players is gonna run a Savage Worlds game for us. For my in-person group right now. There's a bunch of us. There's a bunch of my players who are gonna run basically one-shot games for us while I'm getting ready to run our next game, the Pathfinder game, and set in Eberron. So yeah, he's gonna run Savage Worlds, so we'll try that out. Oh shoot, it's 8 o'clock. I'm supposed to give my cats catnip. Let's do that. Before I do that, reminder that we have a giveaway going on tonight. There should be a link in the chat. One of my moderators can throw that there for you. We are giving away a DnD book of... No. I changed it up for tonight. We're giving away a copy of Into the Fae, a hard copy, an actual physical book hard copy. So you can join the giveaway at the link. Hopefully it'll come up in the chat. Yeah. And Lord God, thank you for the cheeseburger tip, $10. Thank you. I appreciate that. And for the super chat, no shelves. I explained the shelves. I moved all the shelves over there because I'm setting up a permanent place for me to do recordings where I'm not taking down and setting up the equipment every time I record videos. And so now I have a dedicated space where all the cameras are going to be set up permanently. Like, this would not be a good place for me to have cameras set up at all times. It's just not good. But over there would work really well. So that's why. Yeah, the bot is having a hard time. Could we just put somebody just throw a link in the chat to the giveaway link manually? Bot is dumb. Okay, cool. Then we're going to do catnip. Whee! We're gonna get these two guys right here. Hold on, where is my thing? Coffee can. There we go. All right, so we have the penguin and George the squirrel. Penguin and the squirrel, and we're gonna get them all. We're gonna get them all rubbed up with this right here, some good old-fashioned catnip. Rachel enjoys this part of the night. Hello, Rachel. How are you doing? Here we go. All right, Squeaky. I know you love this part of the night. There's the squirrel. All right, here's some catnip. He's like, throw catnip on my head. All right, I shall be back. Oh, I'm gonna need this. Oh man. I mean, that's a Bucky's beaver, not a squirrel. I know what it is, but it's close enough to a squirrel. I call it a squirrel because I used to have a pet squirrel, so I call it a squirrel. And it is a Bucky beaver. I like Dragonborn. I think they're cool. I never play a Dragonborn because the stats are all wrong. They're not a powerful as a race. They're like not a good choice usually, so I never play a Dragonborn. Which is one of the cool things about DnD. You just have more flexibility. So that's one of the things I really like, because now, you know, it'll be cool to be able to play a race that actually you want to play, and you don't have to worry about the stats lining up with the class, you know, because if I want to play a fighter, there are certain races I'm going to consider and other ones that are just out of the question for me personally, you know, just my style as a player. Yeah, that's true. They have a bonus to charisma, don't they? So they make good paladins. Yeah, that's true. All right, let's go. Squeaky, you having fun over there? Usually there's another cat that comes and then they fight, but all of my other cats are gone now. What is the best way of creating your own D&D universe? I don't think there's a best way of creating your own D&D universe. There's only the ways that everybody creates them. It's totally a non-answer, but yeah, I don't have an answer for that question. One little part at a time, I suppose. Any advice on how to make players more comfortable with character deaths? Kill them more. The more they die, the more they're going to get used to it. Now, don't intentionally kill them. That's not what I'm saying. But the fact remains, the point remains. The more you do something, the more something happens, the more comfortable you get with it. You just get used to it. It becomes intent. You just know it's going to happen, and you feel, you know. So the more your character dies, the more you're comfortable with it. That's just the way it works. The first time, like TPKs, you know. The first time I had a TPK, I was like, oh my gosh, we TPK'd, you know. Holy crap. Are my players going to be upset? Is this going to be a problem? Like, what's going to happen? We TPK'd. I can't believe it, you know. And everything was fine. And then the second time we TPK'd, it was like, well, but, And now when there's TPKs, I'm just like, well, that's the game, you know. It happens every so often. It's just the way it works. And I feel comfortable with it. It doesn't mean I like it. I don't like TPKs because, you know, I'd rather they live. I just would. But it happens, and I feel comfortable with it, even if I don't like it. And so the more you do a thing, the more comfortable you're going to feel with it, usually. We just get used to it. It becomes normal to us. You know, you get punched in the face every day. Eventually, you get used to getting punched in the face, and it doesn't hurt quite as much. You know, you become numb to it. You kick that bag enough times, and your shins they don't hurt as much anymore when I kick those bags. It's just, you get used to it. I don't know. Make them play first or second edition until they're comfortable with losing a character. Dude, first edition is brutal. I started DnD with second edition. But it has been so long since I played second edition, I remember nothing about it. I had the books over there. I just remembered like nothing about it. But I've heard many people say that second edition is also pretty brutal. How do you handle a player that interrupts you during a narration moment constantly? The stare of death, dude. The stare of death. I do not like being interrupted. When I am narrating something, when I am describing something, I hate being interrupted. And I don't spend a lot of time in my games talking. I'm not a big talker. Like, my players spend most of the time talking. I talk when I need to. Mostly I'm sitting there and listening and just, you know, getting ready to do the next thing that I got to do when I got to do it. But if I'm giving a narration moment, when I'm describing something, or if I'm just explaining something and just answering somebody's question, if I'm getting interrupted, dude, that doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. So I have two ways that I deal with it. One is the stare of death. I used to be a teacher, so the stare of death is a thing that you do. It corrects behavior very, very well. You don't have to do anything else sometimes. At least where I was teaching, it worked. Now, I don't know, there are probably places where it's not going to work, but it's just this cold, hard stare, you know, and I don't know, it worked. The kids, if whatever they were doing that they knew was wrong, they stopped when I gave them the stare of death. I call it a stare of death. I don't know. I wasn't actually going to do anything to them. I mean, they might have gotten in trouble, but I wasn't going to, like, you know, do anything crazy. So I have this practiced stare of death. And so when players are doing something like, for instance, interrupting me, and usually it's interrupting because they're like talking to another player or causing a distraction or something, but I'll just stop what I'm doing. Literally, I stop what I'm doing. I look directly at them and it's the stare of death, you know. That's just what I do. I don't know. That's one thing I do. It usually works. The other thing that I do is I literally will say something, you know. Hey, Alex. Let's just pick on Alex. He is one of my players, but I don't know. I don't have any problems with him. We're good, Alex. But anyway, I'm going to pick on Alex. I'll literally just say, Alex, please, you keep interrupting me. Would you please stop? That's it. That's it. You know, just call their attention to it and ask them what you would like them to do. It's easy. It's the easiest thing in the world. You know, John and Sally, you guys are having lots of side conversations here, and I feel like it's a little bit disruptive. Could you tone those down a little bit? You know, it's very simple. It's very simple. You call their attention, you point out the behavior that's undesirable, you explain how it's making you feel or the effect that it's having on the game, and then you ask them to exhibit a different behavior. It's very simple, like, you know, correction 101 type of thing. You do it softly, you do it gently, you do it kindly, you do it pleasantly. You don't yell, you don't scream. You know, it's just very simple. It's like, hey, you know, you're over there rolling your dice constantly and it's starting to get distracting. Do you think we could do that a little bit less, because it's distracting me from the game? You know, it's very simple. It's very simple, but you do it nicely. You do it pleasantly, you know, and most of the time, if you have rational, reasonable human beings playing in your game, they're usually going to respond to that, you know, and it'll correct the behavior. So that's what I found. So there were two different ways to deal with that. How much longer before this dude just gets banned? I'm just waiting for I bet my moderators are having a whole chat over on the Discord. Okay, yeah? Okay. I mean, I'm like, not every time, but frequently when I look up, I see the same person's message getting deleted. And it's like, how many times are they going to get their stuff deleted before one of the moderators is just like, you know what? We're done. We're done. I'm done. Bam. I never advocate for banning. My moderators, they have their agency to do that when they feel it's necessary. But sometimes I'm like, what's going on with this dude? How many jokes should you put in your campaign? Example, a mini boss that throws flaming hot Cheetos to attack you. Oh, nah. Should you put in your campaign? Like I'm not going to do that. You will never find that in my game. That is just going to absolutely ruin verisimilitude, suspension of disbelief, all of your big, huge jargony words that we use in the role-playing world. You know, to me, that ruins the game for me in a way. So I'm never going to do that as a dungeon master, you know. And then my players, if they're like, I want to have flaming Cheetos, it's like, Cheetos don't exist in the world you live in right now. They don't exist. So that's not possible, you know. So yeah, no, that ruins it for me. So, but this is personal taste, right? This is personal preference and taste. Not everybody plays the same game. All of us like different things, so you can do what you want to do, you know. To me, that's a little bit too silly and ridiculous and would not appeal to me at all on any level, you know. Something like that, you know. So I don't know. Have you ever played the 5e Artificer? Either playing one or DMing for one? I don't think anybody's ever played an Artificer in one of my games. I don't think so. Have I ever played one? I think I played an Artificer once. I'm pretty sure somebody made it for me because I didn't have time and I asked them to, and they made it for me. But I've never chosen to play the Artificer. I've read it over and it sounds very interesting, but it's also very complex. And here's the thing, like, most of the games I play in are one-shots. When I'm a player, it's usually in a one-shot, which means that I'm not gonna have a ton of time to learn how a new class works, like an Artificer, something that I feel is more complex that I'm not familiar with. Like, I just don't have time to learn all that stuff. And so I'm less likely to create a character for a one-shot that's a class I've never played before, because I have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how this class works. So I'm usually going to create something I'm comfortable with, because I'm just not going to have a lot of time to prepare to play in this game. I really just need to get a character done and show up and play. Now, if it's an ongoing game, you know, that might be a little bit differently. It might be, you know, but yeah. So I think I played one once. How about a comedy-based campaign? Is that okay? I mean, the question of is it okay? It's like, this is up to you. This is up to the dungeon master and the players. Like, nothing is wrong necessarily. Like, nobody's to say you have to have a serious game. Nothing's to say that you couldn't have, you know, a flaming Cheeto game. This is just, it's a you question. It's like, what do you want to do? What do your players want to do? Like, I'm answering that question, you know, based upon what I would find fun or not fun. But these are just personal preferences. You know, there are some things we could say that are, you know, set in stone. Perhaps there are some things that are set in stone, maybe. But a lot of the things you're gonna find are not set in stone. It's just a matter of personal taste and preference, and what works better for you and what doesn't work better for you. What do you like and what do you not like? Like, so many things, that the spectrum of things is so, you know, there are probably very few things that are set in stone, actually set in stone, that are like immutable laws. You know, that I don't know that there are that many of those things. What's your favorite homebrew rule that you use? Mine is critical hits immediately cause max damage plus a normal damage roll without modifier. So a 1d6 plus 4 becomes a 1d6 plus 10. My favorite homebrew rule? I don't know. It's like, you know, the question presupposes that there are homebrew rules that I'm really excited about and that I'm just like, oh my gosh, this makes the game amazing. And I don't think I have any homebrew rules that like make the game amazing, you know, that get me really excited or anything. I mean, we have homebrew rules, and most of them were homebrewed to address certain situations for certain reasons. But like, it's like, if you ask me what's your favorite, you know, coffee place, I'm gonna tell you Bigby. If you ask me what's your favorite food, I'm gonna say probably a hamburger. If you ask me, you know, like what's your favorite car, I'm gonna tell you a Mustang Shelby. You know, like that's because you have stronger opinions about that. But a homebrew rule, it's like, I don't know, I have homebrew rules, but I don't care about them a whole lot. They don't like get me excited. I don't get up in the morning and think about my homebrew rules, you know. What's your favorite wrench? The big red ones, the piping wrenches, the big huge piping wrenches. I'll tell you what, dude, I have a piping wrench around the corner because I have a water filter. Like the water for our house comes from a well, and then there's a sediment filter that it goes through to pull out the sediment, and I have to use this big pipe wrench to take the filter off every so often to change it out. And this pipe wrench is awesome. It's heavy, and you're like, you know, I could really mess something up with this if I needed to. So I like that pipe wrench. It's big, the big red one. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen the big red pipe wrenches. Those things are awesome. Yeah. What are your thoughts regarding the use of a Psionicist class in 5e? Be it like the second edition Psionicist or Unearthed Arcanist Mystic? I mean, my problem, in essence, the problem with Psionics or whatever, is that it's magic that bypasses the rules of magic. That's the real problem. So the problem is a problem of balance, in my opinion, because when you have magic that isn't magic, that Psionics doesn't use hand gestures, so there's no somatic components. It doesn't use materials usually, so there are no material components, and it doesn't use verbal components. It's simply you using your brain to exert an effect. And so it bypasses these things. And so now you can't tell when somebody's casting a spell, so you can't counterspell them. And you might argue that it's not even magic, it's psionic power, so it can't be counterspelled. And so it's the issue with psionics that I think that I run into is that it can skirt the rules. You know, it's magic, but it's not. And so it's a way to be more powerful with magic. You're using psionics instead of typical magic, and so it can't be countered, it can't be dispelled, people don't know when you're casting a spell, you know, it's a way to get around all of those things, you know, and I think that is usually the concern, in my opinion. Now, if you could be a psionicist that used psionics, and let's pretend that the psionic effects are different or special or something, well, that's cool, it gives you something different to use. But like, let's pretend that has the same limitations as normal spellcasting. Like, it has verbal components, material components, somatic components. If it played by the same rules and we had a more level playing field, I feel like that would be more fair, perhaps. But when you don't play by the same rules, it becomes like it essentially becomes a super powerful way of casting spells that, you know, bypasses a lot of the restrictions, one might say, of typical spellcasting. And so I feel like that is the concern, probably. In and of itself, psionics, the idea of it is really, really cool, and I love the idea. But like, there needs to be like game mechanics that keep it in check, if that makes sense. So those are my thoughts on psionics, I guess. Y'all talking about wrenches now? Wow. Massive cat shadow behind you made it look like you were about to get pounced on. My cat's right over there now. It's chilling out. Is it too much of a main character thing if I sing a song with my bard for 2 minutes? For the opening of our group's tavern, the lyrics are the story of our adventure in the used to be abandoned tavern. I don't know. I mean, are you a good singer? Can you make it interesting? Can you make it funny? Can you make it a cool game moment? I don't know. I probably wouldn't mind it. You know, it's 2 minutes of the game, right? It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. Any tips to prep an adventure more efficiently? I feel like I take way too long, and when I am done, I realize I didn't prep enough. I feel like what I would do in your situation then is I would, every time you prep an adventure, prep the things you're going to prep, and then you go run the adventure. And then take note of and analyze the things that you prepped but never used. And then take note of the things that you didn't prep but needed. Okay? And then take note of the things you didn't prep that you needed, that you were able to improvise without any problems, and the things that you were not able to improvise without problems. Because there are two things you can do then as you refine your prepping process. When you prep for an adventure, the things that you prep that you never use, those are perhaps things that you don't need to prep. And if you can categorize them, you know, like let's pretend that you're constantly prepping the names of monsters in your adventure and the characters never ask their names. Well, then maybe that's something you can stop prepping. All right. So think about the things you prep that don't get used and the categories and the types of things you could stop prepping. So try to get rid of stuff. Try to take things off your plate, right? And analyze and think and figure it out. Things you don't need to prep because you don't end up using them. And then the next thing to pay attention to is the things you don't prep that you do need that you are not good at improvising. So those are the things you really ideally want to prep ahead of time. And there's always going to be one-off things that, you know, you have to improvise that you should have prepped. But try to figure out, again, if there are categories and types of things like that you like. My characters always search every body. Well, I need to have an answer to that. You know, like I need to have a random table maybe of things that they could find on bodies. I don't know. And then I can refer to it and boom, there you go. Random table and stuff. And I'm done. You know, so think of things that there are classes and categories of things that you need to prep. And then you can start prepping those things. So I think I would analyze yourself and analyze what you do and analyze how the games go to try to help determine what are the things you can get rid of and the things you need to do. And that's part of efficiency, because part of efficiency is figuring out what you should not do and then stop doing those things. And then the things that you should do, how do you do them more efficiently? How can you do them faster, so to speak? But I would also say that there is something to be said about enjoying the process and enjoying the journey as well. Like, is there a way you can enjoy that act of prepping and enjoy that act of creating those things? Can you make that enjoyable for yourself? You know, because if you spend 8 hours prepping for an adventure, and let's say that you could have spent 4 hours instead, you might say, well, you wasted 4 hours. Well, not necessarily, because what if you really enjoyed all 8 hours? What if you had fun? Like, as a dungeon master, many times what we have fun doing is preparing for the game. Like, that's part of the fun for us. So that 8 hours, it's not a waste if you had fun. If you enjoyed those 8 hours, who's to say that that's a waste of time? You know, there are lots of people that do lots of things, you know, for like a long period of time, and they enjoyed it, and that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter if it took them 8 hours or 4 hours, they had fun doing it. So I would say, can you enjoy the process too? Is there a way to enjoy the process? Because, you know, happiness isn't tomorrow. Happiness isn't like some definite point in the future that you get to. It has to be today. Happiness has to be today. And enjoying the journey and enjoying the process is part of realizing that happiness today, you know, because if we don't realize it today, then when is it going to happen? Because today is always today and tomorrow never comes, you know? I enjoy making combat encounters that my players avoid. Well said. I thought I could improvise treasure and items on enemy bodies until I tried it. I find that really hard compared to NPC names. I'm the same. I don't like improvising treasure. That's one of the things I like to have ahead of time. Names I can come up with usually without too big of a deal, but I don't want to improvise treasure because it gets stale and boring if I'm improvising the treasure. I have a player who attempts to bring real-world physics and logic into everything. I've tried asking him that this is a world of magic and not to worry much, but he keeps doing it. Any tips? Dude, you got to cut that crap out, man. Stop. So I think the solution is to... The conversation has to do with... You have to have a conversation with the player, right? Listen, this is a game that attempts to simulate a world to some degree, and the rules attempt to simulate that world to a certain extent, but if we try to simulate the world too accurately, the rules get super complex. And if the rules get super complex because we're trying to simulate the world too exactly, then the game gets very tedious and boring and undesirable to play. And so one of the things that all game systems do, especially we'll talk about RPGs. One of the things RPGs attempt to do is they introduce a set of rules that replicates a game world to a certain degree. Now, some RPGs have lots of rules and they're very crunchy, we call it, because they're attempting to have a very good simulation of the world. They want to account for everything and have rules for almost everything. And so you have lots of rules and stuff. And the burden, of course, is you have lots of rules. You might have a game world that is very much more realistic because you have tons of rules to govern it. But the downside, you have realism, but then you have tons of rules that you have to use, and that slows the game down. And it could make it boring and slow for people if you don't enjoy that. Now, the opposite spectrum is the game that has very loose rules, and it doesn't result in a super realistic simulation of a world. But those games, the rules are a lot easier to use. They're light rules, and there's more vagueness and ambiguity perhaps. And they're not going to represent physics very well, and people who know these things are going to have a problem with that. But the thing is to understand that we are attempting to play a game and the rules help to simulate it to a certain extent. But if we get too deep into it, if we go too far, if we overthink it too much, then the problem is that the rules can become such a burden that nobody wants to play that game. Nobody cares about playing that game. And so there's always going to be a balance between game rules and what's realistic and what's not. There are many things in the game that aren't realistic. That's just how the rules are. Is it realistic? No. But it is a concession that we make so that we can have a playable game, so that we can have a fun game. That's just the way it is. So, I think explaining that to the player is a good start. They need to understand that this game isn't trying to be perfectly realistic, and they need to let go of that. Let go of it and embrace it and have fun. Or maybe it's the wrong game for you. Like if your brain is wired in such a way that you can't get over the fact that these things aren't realistic, then this is the wrong game for you, especially 5th edition D&D. Maybe go try Hackmaster or another game that is super crunchy and has really extensive rules. That might work better for you. So that might be a solution as well, that they find a different game that works better for them and the way they want a game to be, you know? And they might find other like-minded people too that really dig really crunchy games like Hackmaster, and that's what they want to do. So, but yeah, those are a couple things you can try. At the end of a 3 to 4 hour session as a player, my brain is basically goo. I'd like to start DMing, but I worry about my mental stamina. Any advice? That's interesting. I would be interested in knowing what parts of being a player tax your brain and make it goo. Because I can tell you, like, I don't know what you're doing when you're a player. Oh, I know that when I'm a player, it is like the easiest 4 hours of my life because I don't have to do anything. I just sit there and I run one character. That's it. I don't have to think about almost anything. I just got to run one character. It's like the most relaxing, easiest time. It's literally a vacation. Compared to being the dungeon master, being a player is a vacation. So it definitely lies within the realm of possibility that if running a character is taxing to you, that being a dungeon master might be completely exhausting. That lies within the realm of possibility. So yeah, I would not say don't try it though. It's worth trying. It's worth trying for sure. Run a one shot, see what it's like. But if you find that it's way too much for you and you just can't take it and your brain is goo after 20 minutes, then hey, maybe it's just not a good fit for you. Maybe being a dungeon master just doesn't work. That's not a negative comment about you. You know, not everything is made for everyone. But it's a possibility that it just might not be the thing. You know, I would still try it. But yeah, generally speaking, being a dungeon master is more challenging, and your brain is firing a lot faster. Like, but see, that's interesting because that's the thing I enjoy about being a dungeon master. That's why I like being a dungeon master, because I'm always up. I'm always up. I'm always thinking. I'm always doing something. I'm never relaxing. I'm going. I'm thinking. I'm playing the game the entire 4 hours. You see, when I'm a player, I'm playing the game for 45 minutes out of 4 hours. I'm not always playing the game. When I'm a player, most of the time I'm waiting for somebody else. Almost always. That's the experience of a player, waiting for other people. You're waiting. I don't want to wait. I want to play the game all the time. And so when I'm a dungeon master, I'm always playing the game. I am. Even when I am sitting there quietly saying nothing, I'm playing the game because I'm listening to them, what they're going to do. Oh, they're going to go to that room? Okay, what's in that room? Okay. Yep, that's okay, cool. Understood. Got it. If they go there, that's the stuff in that room. Excellent. Oh, no. Now they're going to try to open that door. Oh, geez. They're going to break the door down? Okay, that's an iron door. What is the DC for an iron door? It's probably pretty hard. Oh, they're going to pick the lock now. Ooh, well, these doors were made by goblins. The locks are probably pretty easy to pick. Okay, the DC is this. You know, you see, when I'm a dungeon master, I'm always playing the game. I'm always thinking about these things because I'm listening to my players, and then I'm figuring out, like, you know, or I'm looking at the adventure that I wrote in the next room and stuff. It's like you're always playing the game, and that's what appeals to me. One of the big things about being a dungeon master. All right, my dog is starting to wander around. Zoe, lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. I think she's got to go potty. She's got to go outside. Can you wait 10 minutes? Wait 10 minutes, okay? Yeah, lie down. She's like, I don't know what that means. I'm just gonna wander around. Yeah, well, Zoe's been here the whole time. She's been here just sleeping for the last 3 hours, so, or lying there at least. So I'm pretty sure she's got to go to the bathroom now. So we're gonna, hopefully she can wait 10 minutes. By the way, we do have a giveaway going on tonight. I'm giving away a copy of Into the Fae, a physical hard book copy of Into the Fae. So if you want to get that, hopefully we can get a link in the chat where you can go sign up for the giveaway. We're going to do the giveaway at the end of the stream tonight. How would you go about guiding a younger, newer player who struggles with the idea of the game being collaborative storytelling and tends toward having specific character stories in mind? I don't know. I guess I'm having trouble understanding why those are mutually exclusive. Oh, maybe they're only thinking about their character. They think they only want to like have stuff happen with their character, and they don't understand the idea that it's a group play stuff. I mean, I don't know. My first step is going to be to talk to them about that. I'm going to assume you already did that, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. Besides talking with them and trying to give them examples and stuff, or giving them suggestions, is how they can turn their character-specific way of playing the game into a group-centered way of playing the game. Maybe examples or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I would do besides talking to them. But I think it's important to recognize too that levels of maturity are a thing as well. And it's possible that if it's a younger player, they're just not mature enough to grasp it. You know, like. It's just a thing, you know. If you're dealing with somebody, let's pretend they're 6 years old, they don't have the level of maturity probably to grasp that. You can explain it a little bit, but your expectations should be super low. You know, you're just gonna have to accept that, hey, they're 6 years old, dude. This is what you get. You know, now when they get to be 8, hey, maybe they start to think about them. Oh, now they're 12. Oh, now they get it. Now they get it. Okay, cool, because they need to mature as a person, right? And who knows, they could be 15 and still not get it and still be super immature as a person, because yeah, 15-year-olds are sometimes immature. Who knows? But all you can do is try to talk to them, give them examples, and explain it to them, and then just, you know, you need to temper your expectations with where they're at with their age and their maturity as a person, you know, their maturity as a player, and just try to be patient and understanding as you try to guide them and help them understand that, you know. I think that's the only real suggestions I can give you. I don't have any like really huge, massive secrets for you. How often do I do live chats and Q&A on this channel? Every week. I usually live stream every week. Once a month we create adventures together though. Like we create a DnD adventure together and then we publish it on my website, thedmlayer.com, and then people can get it for free. There's lots of free stuff over there, by the way. For anybody who wants free stuff, uses the Dungeon Master. But yeah, once a week we do this. Do you allow your PCs to revisit dungeons they have been to before, or the dungeons will be locked down for reasons after they leave? I'm not gonna stop them from going to a dungeon if they want to go there. I don't know why. There's no reason I would stop them. It's illogical for me to stop them. Yeah, they can go there if they want to. There might not be a reason to go there. If they tell me they're going to a place they've already been before, and and I haven't given them a plot hook to go there, I'm probably gonna stock it with random monsters that moved in for whatever reason, because, you know, it's shelter. And if it's unused, somebody's gonna take it over. But I'm not gonna stop my players. I'm just gonna make something up. Here's a chance to use some cool monsters that I found that I've been itching to use. And we're gonna have a nice little dungeon full of monsters that serve really no purpose, perhaps, except that my players went there. And now I'm giving you the thing you wanted, even though there was no plot hook leading you there. But I'm not gonna say no to them. I'm gonna give them something, and I'm gonna enjoy it. It'll be fun for me. I assume it's gonna be fun for them because they're the ones that wanted to go back. But I'm not gonna say no to them. I think that would not be, that would run contrary to the way I run my games, you know, I suppose, in a way. How would you handle keeping a balance of game experience with a mix of RP heavy characters who don't like power gaming and tactical gamers who don't do much RP? I don't know what you mean by RP. When you say role playing, are you talking about social interactions, or do you actually mean role playing? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Because when I'm doing I don't understand. This is always the thing that I don't. It makes it hard to answer questions sometimes because we use terms incorrectly, and then I don't know exactly what you mean. At the end of the day, if you have people that you're almost always going to have different players in your groups that enjoy different things, right? And you're almost always going to have players with different preferences. So you're going to have to deliver a game that has a mix of things. It's always going to be the case. Sometimes you're going to have to. That's why when I design adventures, they're always going to have a mix of social interactions, of exploration, and combats. They're always going to have a mix of that stuff, because those are the three pillars, and those are the different things that different people find interesting. And I never know, I do for my normal groups, but let's say it's a one shot, people I've never played with before. Like, I don't know what they find interesting, so I include a little bit of everything. And even for the games, even for the groups that I do play with all the time, like, the players enjoy different things. And so I have to build my adventures with a mixture of stuff. And when you build your adventures with a mixture of different things that appeal to a wide variety of people and player types, then you have a better guarantee that your players are going to find things in your game that they find interesting. Yes, there will be things that they don't find interesting, things that they don't like. But that's life, because you can't get everything you want, because then this guy gets nothing that he wants. And so we're going to do a mixture, and you're going to be happy. You're going to be happy 2/3 of the time, and you're going to be unhappy 1/3 of the time. And we're going to hope that that equals out enough that you had fun and you still enjoy playing the game. My dog needs to go outside. Okay, we're going to do the giveaway. Oh,
What's that? What did you do down there?
I think she got her paw pinched.
What are you doing down there?
All right, we're going to do the giveaway. I got to take my dog outside. She's going to do something on my floor if I don't do this. All right, let's hit this. All right, here we go. Drawing the winner. All right, let me double check this bad boy. All right, we have Travis N. Travis N. Your YouTube screen name is TVN525. You have won. I'm gonna send you an email. Congratulations. Your dog always likes to rest her neck on your chair rollers. Oh, that's bad. Okay, I'm done, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. I know I didn't get all the questions. I do the best I can. I'll be here next week. I think next week we're creating an adventure together, though. So, all right, guys. Thank you. Have fun. Goodbye. Bye, everybody. Bye. It was very nice hanging out with you all.